voted in favor of the IEBC Amendment Bill 2022 that changes the composition of the selection panel. This now means that Parliamentary Service Commission will send 2 members, Public Service Commission will produce 1, and LSK 1 person to the panel. Interreligious Council will have 2 slots.
Honourable Senators, the results of the vote on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 49 of 2022 is as follows. The ayes 28, the nays 7, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Honourable Senators, I put the question that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2022, National Assembly Bills number 49, 2022, and its approval thereof without amendments. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Now, the impasse at the Kericho County Assembly has been resolved and the majority and minority leader and whip positions allocated. A meeting chaired by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua saw voting take place and the leadership decided.
The issue of the leadership of the House of the Assembly have been resolved to the satisfaction of each and every member. And as a result, elections have been held and the results have been accepted. The following members were elected for the above positions. The majority leader will be the Honorable Philip Rono. The deputy majority leader will be Honorable Fancy Chepkoril Koril. The majority whip will be the Honorable Aaron Rotich. And the deputy majority whip will be Bavina Serem.
Rigathi further said that similar negotiations are ongoing to end the deadlock in Meru County Assembly.
I have held discussions with the leadership of the Senate and the National Assembly. I held a further discussion with the members of the Meru County Assembly, and I held another different discussion with Governor Kawira Mwangaza, and all of them are unanimous that we must seek to bring about peace and stability in Meru. In the next 1 week, I'll be having a roundtable discussion with the governor, members of the National Assembly, the Senate, and the members of the County Assembly with a view of restoring peace and stability in the county of Meru.
And President William Ruto launched the Ruiru Affordable Housing Project in Kiambu County. Ruto said the project is set to deliver over 1,000 housing units.
Ujenzi tumeanzisha hapa ni nyumba 1,000. Hapa Kiambu tumekubaliana na gavana wenu na wizara yetu ya kwamba Kiambu tunajenga nyumba 50,000. 50,000. Hii sasa ni 1,000. Sasa imebaki 49,000. Na tumekubaliana na Wamatangi ya kwamba atafute ardhi katika kila township kubwa hapa Kiambu tuweze kugawana hizo manyumba, kwa sababu tunataka kuondoa aibu ya watu kuishi mahali ambapo hapafai.
The head of state further said that over 6 million Kenyans are living in slums and his government is set to build over 200,000 homes every year to change this.
So hiyo kazi ambayo tunataka kufanya ni hatua ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba Wakenya wataishi mahali pazuri. Ni safari mrefu, itachukua muda, lakini tutaanza sasa. Ndio tumesema tunataka kujenga nyumba 200,000 katika taifa letu la Kenya kila mwaka. Tayari tuko na ardhi kama hii karibu ekari 4,000 ya kujenga manyumba. Tayari we have the land to construct the first 600,000 houses already. Tunafanya kazi na county governments 38 na hiyo kazi ya kutafuta ardhi ya kujengea Wakenya manyumba inaendelea.
The Azimio la Umoja Party's leadership will soon issue a comprehensive statement in regards to a report detailing how the August 2022 general elections were allegedly rigged in favor of President William Ruto. Azimio says it will do so once party leader Raila Odinga returns to Kenya from South Africa, where he's hosting a series of meetings. Led by Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, they labelled the alleged revelations as startling.
Kenyans and the world woke up to the startling revelation of the 2022 presidential election results by IEBC whistleblowers. The data released by the whistleblowers is a bombshell that compels every Kenyan of goodwill to ask themselves if indeed we still have a democracy. According to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, the data calls into question the outcome of the presidential elections and the credibility and legitimacy of our entire electoral system and infrastructure.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God. The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No. It's about shipping up. You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man.
Morning, and not much happening on these streets. We're looking at a little bit of traffic that's building up in certain parts of the city. On the Thika Superhighway, it's going to come out towards the CBD in a short while, and we'll see a build-up of that as we go through the morning. Hopefully it won't be too crazy a Friday. We know that next week things will be totally different. Keep an eye on those and see what happens. How's your Friday panning out? Let us know what's going on. Coming off Mombasa Road, not too much of an issue. We're looking at a little bit of traffic here and there as you come out of Westlands, but it's just starting to build up now. Speak to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let us know what's going on where you are, and we keep things moving this morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Okay, good morning. It's Friday. How are you doing? Karibuni sana. At a few minutes, Ednah is showing you dancing. Meanwhile, at a few minutes after 6 o'clock. Good morning, and how are you doing? It's the 20th of January. 20th of January. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. CT, good morning.
Yes, Miss Ndu.
Yes.
Good morning to you.
And how are you?
I am actually very well, thank you.
Fantastic. It's Friday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
At long last.
Long time coming, but here it is. And we are happy to meet this Friday. A certain gentleman who's walking around the room like a lost banshee, but we'll give him a minute to figure out what it is that he's doing as we get into the day.
What you're seeing in operation is Chapter 1 of our Constitution.
Which is?
Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights to walk about.
Well, he has the freedom among the things. If you have the right to assembly, when you can't have the right to walk alone.
Hii katiba yenyewe kuna watu wa kusoma. Ati chapter 1 ni Bill of Rights.
Ndio.
Ni sawa tu.
Let me tell you something. It's a secret that I learned very many years ago when I was a youth. How to make something a conversation. Say something completely outlandish. Okay? So whatever you just said.
What did you say?
You know the conversation has begun.
What do you mean?
Now
Did you actually read that thing? You?
Now let's talk.
Do you know? Hamjambo lakini?
Tujambo sana kaka.
Kwa na chapa malaps hapa kwa sababu Ednah amefanya ile kitu. Amefanya ile kitu.
Kweli eh?
Unajua Ednah, unajua. Dictator.
Ile kitu ni gani?
Unaongea Sister Ednah, si ndio?
Sister Ednah.
Ednah ni dictator.
She's just quiet there, but when she says do, my friend will do.
How you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation this Friday, the 20th day of January 2023. We have a packed Friday and different conversations. At 7 o'clock, we want to have a conversation about cholera. So there's cholera spreading around the country. Several counties. How many counties so far?
Last time I counted, was it 19?
Several counties,
Yeah,
man.
that's the number.
Some serious cholera issue that's going around.
It keeps increasing.
It is an outbreak.
And we want to talk about what we need to know about prevention, preparedness, and control in this country. We'll be joined by somebody from MSF. I would say MSF in the English or French.
In the English or French? Doctors Without Borders.
No, that's English. The Medicine Sans
Frontières.
That one?
Médecins Sans Frontières.
See?
Those ones.
I knew that went on with it.
So those ones from home, MSF, will be here. Dr. Muhwana Kisika is a project medical referent.
A what?
See, Reverend.
Superintendent, what again?
You said what?
Project medical referent.
There's something you're not doing right.
What? You want to say it's referent? Yeah, we are. He joins us at 7 o'clock to have that conversation. Cholera prevention, preparedness and control in Kenya. At 8 o'clock, we will be talking to Helen Nkaiseri. Helen Pilale Nkaiseri is the widow of the late Major General Joseph Nkaiseri. She has written a memoir. She's published a memoir that's been published. It's called The General and I, looking at the life of General Joseph Nkaiseri, inside the secret life of the general. She'll be here with us to talk about her life and times with the late general, who was the former Interior CS. And she'll be here to tell us where they met, how they lived, the family life, living with the general, man of discipline and order and all those things. And
a man of faith.
And a man of faith as well. So she'll tell us about that faith part. Because we know the other one. We will hear all those stories at 8 o'clock. At 9, we've been having diaspora conversations. Yes, we have talked to several Kenyans in the diaspora. Kenyans in the diaspora interact and engage with us. Today, we are going to have the Principal Secretary in the newly created State Department for Diaspora Affairs, Roslyn Njogu. She joins us at 9 o'clock to talk about how the government plans to engage Kenyans in the diaspora. More meaningful and more deliberate engagement with Kenyans in the diaspora. So just the other day, we had Mukile who was telling us, what we need is to see how we can be engaged in the development of something like, whatchamacallit, the diaspora policy that's now being developed and all. Roslyn will come and tell us. She has also been we've been seeing her talking about engaging with Kenyans in the Middle East, those that are working in the Middle East, trying to resolve that particular issue of Kenyans in distress in the Middle East, so they know this is how we handle this issue. She'll come and give us updates about that. Roslyn Njogu, 9 a.m. It is 6:15. COVID update.
All right, let me tell you what's going on around the world. We're looking at 672 million now. It's interesting because we've seen an increase of 1 million cases between yesterday and today. Just under 1 million cases, about 800 or something thousand. That's what we saw globally. If we look at what is happening in Kenya, we saw 13 people tested positive from a sample size of 270, slightly over 10% positivity rate. We're also looking at a very small sample size in the last 24 hours. Still continues to be the same thing. Come out and get vaccinated if you haven't done so, and then get your booster shots. COVID looks like something that will just seem to linger around in terms of who in the atmosphere. It's going to be there for some time. In terms of it disappearing completely, maybe for a while. Looks like it's going to be there for some time. All right, still, attention continues to focus on China and what is happening there. It just continues. Did you know that the Cup of Nations is going on? Do you remember such
Cup
a thing?
of Nations of what?
Football.
In which sport?
Football.
Well, okay, so this is what the qualifiers.
Yes. Now, CAF, which is the Confederation of African Football.
No. I was thinking aloud this football thing, and I realized it's the African football thing.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So the Confederation of African Football says it's impossible for teams to have cheated in COVID rules, despite claims stating as much by the head of the Commonwealth Football Federation. All right. So there was an issue that one of the players, having been tested positive for COVID, was still allowed to go and play in the qualifiers.
What? In the finals? Last year. In the last years.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? And now CAF is saying it's impossible for anybody to cheat and break the rules, because now they're looking at how they're going to sort out issues for current and ongoing competition.
That there is a statement of untruth.
So it's interesting because one of the teams has essentially come out to say, well, one of our players tested positive for COVID and we allowed him to play. So this is not casting doubts on or any kind of ill motive on the side of the Comoro national team, but they were just giving this information to disprove what the CAF chair was saying. Do you get what I'm saying? That
so Comoros are actually coming out to say we cheated.
Yes. To counter what this fella is saying about it is impossible for teams to have cheated. So they say, you're saying it's impossible. Let me tell you what happened last year. One of our players who played in the competition was actually positive. So it was all a counter to what the chair was saying.
Who spoke first? Is
Bite
it not
your
the
nose to
Comoros
spite-
guy who spoke first, and now the federation is coming to say it's impossible? Forget about those ones. Who spoke? Who started?
Comoros spoke first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then now the CAF boss is coming to say, nah.
Yeah, so Comoros is saying, we are telling you that one of us was positive. We are telling you, we don't have to say this. Many would say they were biting off their nose to spite their face, but essentially what they're doing is saying, look here, you guys need to essentially get your house in order. You're giving a global perspective that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, but we're telling you that you don't, and you really need to figure out how to get that sorted.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see for further competitions, sporting, etc., etc.
Hakuna jokes hawa watu.
So
They are serious jokers. Serious jokers.
You know what it reminds me of? A time when I was an educator, I was a teacher, and there were sports that were age-specific. And you had sports for children under the age of 16. And you would struggle because you knew the birth dates of the children in your school. This is when I was in a boys' school. Then you go for the tournament. And there's some fellows, you actually wonder, did they take their staff members to come and play here? Or
under 22, man. It's always under 22.
because there's some ancient-looking creatures there posing as though they're under 16.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Why are you judging a book by its cover?
CT, what's the problem?
I'm not going to talk to the two of you.
It's 20 minutes after 6. Let's take this quick break. Are you online? Because we are live streaming the show. Happy Friday. Where are you locked in from? We will be doing our usual thingamajig, which is acknowledging your presence shortly after we take a look at the weather forecasts.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women and only women guests.
If COVID could mutate and evolve 6 times over the last 2 years, how many versions of yourself have emerged in the last 2 years?
Do not, and you don't have to give anything to get ahead. All you have to do is give out and show out your talent.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m. on SpiceFM.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is one of the best ways to spend a Saturday.
Looks like clear conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 27 and lows of 15 today. It's partly cloudy at 13 in Nakuru with highs of 28 and also highs of 27. In a cloudy Nyeri at 14. It's 11 and clear in Eldoret, highs of 26. And we'll see highs of 32 in cloudy Mombasa at 27. It's 26 and cloudy in Malindi, highs of 31, and 30 will be the high in Kisumu, where it's currently clear at 18. Clear conditions at 15 in Kakamega, highs of 32 and lows of 15. Looking into Kampala, it's partly cloudy at 18, highs of 29, and it'll go to highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 17 and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 33 in a clear Lagos at 26. It's 23 and partly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23, and we're looking at -3 Friday afternoon in Beijing, highs of -1 and lows of -11. Still a snowy day in Paris, it's 1 degree and cloudy, highs of 6, and we'll see highs of 7 in a clear London at 1. It's 5 degrees and snow and sleet in New York. It's raining as well, highs of 7 and lows of 5.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
After 6, who is online?
Why, Veron Joroge says she's in this morning. Good morning to you, as is Fred Wajoni. Pamwell Y9 says tuned in from Kirere, Kisumu. And Livingston Akala says he's tuned in as well. David Mangoch here with us. Newton is also here. Nyamira County is where Charles Luanga Ogato is. Silas says good morning, tuned in right here, Mombasa Road, just here. And Eric Nyamao says he's here as well. Colin Skiptai says good morning and have a great one. Zachary says good morning. Red card to anyone who doesn't listen to the number one program. Good morning, Zachary. Felix Isanya says good morning, tuned in from Kinaine in Athi River, next to Lukenya Girls Center of Excellence. Please, Eric, help Ndu Oko to pronounce Kinaine. See, now I said it properly the first time. Now you're confusing me. Kinanye.
No. There you go.
Ivo? Thank you very much.
Karibu.
Benson says good morning. Good morning from Kisumu. This is Eric. He says, I came across this tormenting video on social media and I felt I should share it with you. Hey. So now, let's talk in a minute. Okay, Johnny says good morning, tuned in from Koisagat, and Odero says he's along the lake, along the shores of Lake Victoria, Kendu Bay Town in Homa Bay County. We are laying an uncle to rest today, Poleni Sana. May he rest in peace.
Indeed.
Beatrice Ngenya says good morning. Samuel Karanja is also here this morning, and the young Semboja is tuned in and says have a blessed day. Sky Karish, we see you as well. Quite a number of folks online this morning. Nakuru Tumeamka and Tim Kubwa is what Emirantus says. Now, Mia Motley Stan is in the sun. And it's -6 today in Western Canada.
And it's sunny.
It's sunny.
It's a sunny day.
-6. Good morning, Karibuni Sana.
Hey. Is it sunny in Mozambique City?
Well, what I do know about Mozambique is that the microbes are alive and well and kicking.
Okay.
That I do know.
Wow.
Okay.
And our final proverb for the day is, a parasite cannot live alone.
It's true.
A parasite cannot live alone.
No, it needs something to feed
Must
on.
have a host.
Yes.
Yep. So every time you think of someone and the word parasite comes to mind.
When you think of someone, yeah?
Yes, I'm referring someone. I'm being specific here.
Just know that you are needed.
Precisely, Eric.
Or no, you are feeding the parasite.
Precisely. Ask yourself how it is you are enabling that person to continue being what they are. Yes, because they cannot survive without that particular collusion.
So don't blame the parasite.
No. The parasite is just doing its thing, man.
Parasite is just being parasite.
Just being parasite.
Paracetamol.
And it requires other people to live on. Okay.
Parasite it's just being paracetamol.
Okay. Sawa.
Sini sawa? Haya basi, tuangalie magazeti. What's on the front pages of the papers?
Ruto's radical plan to finance the hustler budget. So there's a plan, eh? So we'll let you know what that is. Unfortunately, another death, and there are many questions around that. Couple in Juja, we saw that story, and it's asking questions about what's going on. International news, New Zealand Prime Minister quits. You saw that. She resigned from office, burnout, and said, look,
She's tired.
She's tired. She wants to take her child to school. She wants to be able to walk her child to school on the first day. And she wants to finally marry this fella. So look, these prime ministerial duties are stepping in the way of our advancement of life. So you know what? Thank you very much, New Zealand. Sayonara. Adios. Yeah.
No, surely.
Wallahi.
Hii ni mambo ya wazungu.
Wallahi. She said she wants to marry the guy and then have a baby. No.
Baby exists.
Baby exists. And then be able to take her
Remember,
baby
she even
to
communicated
school.
to the baby.
She did.
Told
She
baby,
even
don't
said,
worry.
Baby, don't worry. I'll take you to school the
Baby, in
first
fact,
day.
don't cry.
Baby. I don't know if we're still talking about the same kind of babies.
Mommy's here.
Mommy's here. That's what's happening with that. Budget winners and losers is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. And in the draft 2023 policy statement, we're looking at some... This is the budget that is supposed to meet austerity measures.
Oh, yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And we're at 3.5.
3.6.
3.6 almost.
7.
Should
we just continue going?
3.64 trillion.
3.64 trillion shillings. And this is when we're cutting
That's 4
costs.
trillion.
So we're just cutting.
Now imagine if they had said spend as you like.
How do you cut without spending?
How can you cut something that doesn't exist?
So, the policy statement is out. Take the look at some of those details later. And of course, the nation is looking at the budget winners and losers. Azimio is demanding that what happens? Open the server. Open it.
Server?
See the server. Open it so that we can tell you what we know to be true is true. So.
Okay.
On the back page of the nation... Release 42 billion shillings equalization fund, the state is told. Outgoing chair of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, Jane Kiringai, is saying, boss, remove this money.
Which one?
Equalization fund. Release it. 42 billion shillings.
Hey.
And let's get this caboose moving.
Okay.
Yep.
Utangoja kidogo, tutawaita. The front page of the Business Daily. Users allowed to sue Safaricom over clients' bank details access. The High Court is allowing millions of Safaricom subscribers to join a class action suit against the telecoms operator over a clause in the SIM card registration rules that allows the firm to collect bank details of mobile phone users.
Bless you, brother.
Can I help you?
The other headline that goes with it, KRA to track landlords' spy M-Pesa accounts in order to collect an extra 375 billion shillings.
Rewind, say that again.
KRA will conduct a census of landlords' properties and also seek direct access to M-Pesa transactions in efforts to catch tax cheats and raise an additional 375 billion shillings. The Treasury has disclosed that in its budget planning document for the new financial year that the KRA system will be integrated with those of telecom firms.
Is this aside from the 300 billion they're trying to mop up? This is another 347 billion.
That's the 300 billion they've cut. That was in the current budget.
Okay.
Now we're talking about the next budget.
347.
We're going to be looking at it. We
can tax it.
Ukona pesa.
Yeah, we can tax you.
I get that very clearly.
Ukona pesa.
That is very true. But also, there is something small here that we need to just bring into play. Data protection.
Yes.
So,
which is where now the first case is.
Exactly.
The first headline is on data protection. The second headline is on government using data.
Does it fly in the face of data protection if you're going to say you can then look through my transactions and then use that to tax me? Are you kidding?
You know what tells me? Sometimes I think that this issue of having these laws and having these bills are a waste of time. They are not. Because they provide a very good reference point. So when someone wants to just fly by the seat of their pants and do whatever they want willy-nilly, The reference point is the law and says,
excuse me, I'm here.
Excuse me.
Just choose.
Yes.
Yes,
So
choose.
these laws should be passed. It is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
No, it's a very, very good thing. Yes. But this one, it's going to be a fight.
Itakuwa tough. On Wednesday next week, we are going to host the Data Commissioner, Immaculate Kasait. She'll come, we'll ask her, sasa wewe.
Nadu.
Okay, what's on the front page of the Star?
Same thing. Just worded differently. KRA to spy on M-Pesa data to meet tax target. Isn't this the stuff that mystery is made of?
I know, it needs a soundtrack, man.
KRA to spy.
You could do videos for this drama city.
The tax man is expected to net, not gross, net 2.8 trillion in the 2023-2024 financial year, meaning this year and next year, they want to net 2.8 trillion.
You know, anyway, Sam, 2.8 trillion shillings is what they're going to raise. The government is going to raise 2.8 trillion shillings.
Yes.
The government is going to spend 3.6 trillion shillings.
That's the spirit, my man. Yeah. Right.
You said what?
That's the spirit. Yeah, Gapo. Come on. Yes. Look into the future. And while you're at it, spend into the future.
Tax us to within an inch of our lives.
Exactly. And what about today, tomorrow? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Worry about today.
28 minutes to 7. John Alan Namu returns on Sunday at 8 p.m. on Maisha Magic Plus, channel 16 what? 3 on DSTV and channel 8 on GoTV. What's the show? It's called The Last Door. It's this true crime investigative series looking back into the cases that have taken place in the country. Murder, disappearance, some true crime. And he asked the question, what happened? What was the last door that this person walked through? On Sunday at 8 p.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's time to step up and shine. Get instant airtime or data with every purchase of specifically marked tin of black kiwi polish. What do you need to do? Walk to your nearest store, buy a tin of kiwi black shoe polish, and once opened, find a unique code under the lid. Dial *459 *5# and send the code to stand a chance to win 35,000 Kenya shilling school fees every week, courtesy of Kiwi. Step up and shine with Kiwi. Terms and conditions
what's
apply.
going on this Friday? Looking at a little bit of traffic here and there, but actually nothing too destabilizing for now. It's moving on the Thika Superhighway, getting into the CBD. It's also moving coming out of Westlands. Waiyaki Way is free, at least for now. It looks good on Gong Road. And the Southern Bypass looks good, open for you to get in and out of the city really quickly. What's happening here on the on North Airport Road? Nothing much, actually. You're fine as you get towards Outer Ring. Where is everybody now? Then on Monday, people start running about, Abby. Come out today and finish this business. Monday's going to be crazy. Also going back to school. So let's see what it looks like today being Friday. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's know what's going on where you are. We want to keep things moving while safe.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
25 to 7.
Mornings
All right.
done right.
Fund this hustler budget is the question.
It's a hustler budget of 3.6 trillion.
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
Kenya Kwanza's first budget, 3.6 trillion shillings. Policy document, of course. Remember the budget process. The budget making is a process. Many think that, some folks got together, burnt the midnight oil for some weeks before, and then the CS stands on the steps of Parliament with the briefcase. No, it's a process. Takes place easily a year in advance. Now, the policy document is out, and this is how they're going to seal the leaks, according to them. M-Pesa deals, spy. Isn't it interesting how we use certain words and then it's going to leave a lasting impression on many minds? Spy on mobile money transactions to identify tax cheats who get paid but never remit taxes. That's one way we're going to get money in. The VAT system, raise value-added tax to collections by fully rolling out a new system of the tax invoice management. That's the ETIMS. Corporate tax, KRAs to ensure all, it wouldn't be the first time they've said this, but they're going to ensure that all corporations pay the corporate income tax due to the state. I think it's 20-something% if I'm not wrong. Turnover tax, small businesses will be brought into the tax bracket by returning the turnover tax. Remember, it was there. People said, no, we're not doing it. They removed it because of COVID, blah, blah. It's back. Rental income. KRA seeks to ensure landlords pay rental income tax by mapping all properties in the country. It's going to be an interesting one. And now just looking at the details carried on 4, 5 and 6, one of the things that jumps out at folks is some of the numbers. Where is it going to come? Allocations per sector. Agriculture, rural and urban development is going to get 67.7 billion. Energy infrastructure, 398.2 billion. General economic and commercial affairs, chalk that up to whoever you want, 33.8 billion. Health, 148.2 billion. Education, here the big money spenders, 580.5 billion shillings. Governance, justice and order, 234.7 billion. Public admin and international relations. You want to know what that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Things here and there. Traveling here and there, 371.3 billion shillings. National security, 220.7 billion. Social protection, culture and recreation, 74.3 billion shillings. And 122.8 billion shillings will go towards environment protection, water and natural resources. So that's the breakdown of where this 3.6 trillion will be spent. And we can see, again, the big ticket items, education, governance and justice, national security, health, energy infrastructure and ICT. That's what it looks like the budget is going to do in the next fiscal year.
So, let me ask you. The key devolved functions are agriculture, health.
Yeah.
Okay? Combined, counties are going to get about 300 and something billion shillings.
370.
Let's even put it at 400 billion.
Okay.
Okay? Counties, all of them, all across the country,
47.
where health is and where agriculture is. At the national level, the national government is going to spend 148 plus 67. How much is that?
148 plus 67, 213 billion.
On agriculture and health.
Yeah.
Half of the entire budget for all counties is being spent by the national government on functions that are devolved
At the county level.
at the county level.
Yes.
Maybe these things, this math sometimes doesn't math. I don't understand why the national government is spending 148 billion shillings on health, where its role, its policy.
Let's explain that just a little further so that we can compound your confusion even some more. These counties, the money that they are getting, this 370 billion that will then be allocated to them, within that money, there are functions that they must fulfill. Health is one of those
Just
functions
one of.
inside there already.
Yep.
So the question is, at the national level, why spend this money and then they're going to remove from that little money that you're giving to them to spend on health again? Why not just deliver it directly to them and let them do it?
Yep.
Why?
What is this that the national
Why
government
are
is
they
giving
holding on to
148
this?
billion shillings for health?
And it's already devolved. Why? What? What is it?
Because even if we said, let's just say that 10%, which is unlikely, 10% of that 400 billion shillings that will go to all the counties will be on health. 10% of that is 40 billion shillings.
Yeah.
40 billion shillings at the implementation of health programs, while at policy, we are spending 148 billion shillings.
Tell me.
Does that make sense?
What?
So you have to ask yourself, is there recurrent policy that is waiting for implementation and application? Or are we talking about novel policies now that you want to say, okay, there are these innovations and interventions that we then want to bring about? The ones that you did, the huge mess, which, by the way, in this budget, and we've heard that President Ruto is going to say the funding of this MES, where we have machines sitting at county that have never been removed from the bubble wrap, have not functioned once. We're not funding it anymore. So the question is, this money then that is going to be spent by national government, what What is it for?
You know what I marvel at, is how dense these people think we are. In all sincerity, I mean, what costs more? Rewriting papers that have been written and regurgitating policies that already exist. Does it cost more than the actual implementation?
Imagine.
Is that so? And we're being told to lap this up, absorb it, accept it, and most probably move on. Sorry, how do you move on from this?
And look, and this is for me, the hope is that you will not interrogate these things, that you will not ask questions. If anything, you're supposed to lie there and say, okay, please then come and spy on me some more so you can get some more money to use at that level.
You know, the question we asked of county governments and various ministries, it has to be asked of the national government. Yes, you have these budgets. Yes, you have this money. Yes, you have these expenditures. Can you tell us what exactly this money does? This is really not a complicated thing.
Yeah.
Because the thing about government projects is that if it is done, it will be seen. It's not something in the make-believe world. It's real, it's tangible. Okay? And even if it's tangible, is it worth what you are saying it is worth? Because it's all these things and our expenditure. You'll be told recurrent expenditure. We borrowed it to you do what? That still adds up to debt.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the 3.6 trillion shillings, two-thirds of that money is going to go into repaying whatever we owe. How on earth can a country grow with that sort of situation?
It's a funny one, because I'm just trying to think, maybe the national institutions and the health, NASCOP, National AIDS Control Council, KEMRI, Medical Board. KEMSA is a trading entity.
It is a trading entity, but you don't have to bring in KEMSA.
It buys and sells to counties. That money that's going to counties is what is going to KEMSA, plus other things. 148 billion. Why is you're running a malaria program? Okay, so you're running a malaria program. What exactly are you doing in the malaria program?
You see, where the lie comes in is you are also not told that as much as you have this budget, how much of it is taxpayers' money and how much of it is assistance that you receive from your partners or from the friendly donors.
Before you go to the next story, can I just throw a small spanner in the works? Going back to this MES scandal. Do you realize that until December 2022, payments were still being made for the leasing of medical equipment in this country that had not been used?
Yes.
That had not been used.
Yes.
There was a probe into the scandal. Nobody talked about it. Senators went and there was this hoo-ha about what they were going to do. No names were mentioned. No prosecutions were done. Nothing happened. People were receiving money for services that were not delivered. This same health that we're talking about. And what were we told the other day? People don't care about all these fancy things. People want to be able to go to the community dispensary or the clinic and get medicine. They don't even want to see a doctor.
Actually, yeah.
They don't want to see a doctor.
People
even give me a CEO.
Actually don't need to see a doctor.
Just let me see a CEO or a nurse and that there will be medicine there. I'm fine. Nothing fancy. Can you imagine? That's what you've reduced people to.
And if health is taken care of at that primary level, all these expenses we keep having in the higher up hospital facilities, they're not needed.
They don't need it.
No.
And by the way, that MES, it is not the national government that pays.
It's the county.
It's the
that
counties.
money that goes to the county is deducted at source by the national government to pay.
It's not as though you have a say.
And then they give you less.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
That 340 billion shillings that is allocated to counties is the one that pays the MES. The Ministry of Health budget of 100 plus billion shillings does not go there. It goes elsewhere.
Yes, it does. Isn't it just?
As we talk about all those things in universal healthcare, so let's also talk about the NHIF. The government is changing the contribution model to NHIF from individual to household based. The Treasury says the planned new model will restructure NHIF into a social insurance scheme and in turn ease medical burden on Kenyans.
What on earth have they just said?
As part of the health sector interventions, the government will reform NHIF as a necessary imperative. That's what the budget policy statement says. So they are going to show up NHIF, make sure that now it's households that are paying, not individual, blah, 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 this and the other. But as we talk about all these things, please let's not forget that police officers are not going to be catered for by NHIF.
Why?
They've not figured out their thing.
It's going to a separate consortium of health insurance
It
providers.
was an issue.
Yes, it was.
It's in court. A separate consortium of health insurance providers is going to be paid by the government to insure police officers. Instead of supporting this one thing that you're saying, this is the one that's going to be the driver of universal healthcare, the NHIF, show it up with money so that it's able to fund its operations. You're saying, hapana, you NHIF, you collect people money from Kina City and then
will let others will take care of them.
And police will give you just the 400 or 500 that they're deducted. Then the rest of the insurance money.
You know, there's a question I ask here from time to time, and that is, when those in leadership do the things they do, and it's in the public domain, do they know what they've set in motion? Do they have any idea what they're telling the rest of the citizens of the country and what they're telling us to do? There is a story on page 10 of the Star. Now, this story is a bit bizarre, but it reflects and in part answers that question that I keep asking, because this has now been set in motion. Rising fear as conmen invade Del Monte land, subdivide its parcels. I will read. Be on the lookout for people claiming to sell land belonging to the pineapple and global fruits processor Del Monte. That's the warning in Midhanga Kakuzi, from Midhanga Kakuzi Deputy County Commissioner Angela Macau. She told the company has complained some individuals and groups are invading their land and allegedly and illegally subdividing parcels that are then being sold to unsuspecting Kenyans. Just pause for a second. This land belongs to Kakuzi. Some people have gone in there, they've subdivided it, put beacons, and they're selling land. Okay, just let me continue. The swindlers are charging 5,000 shillings to register their land buying companies and 50,000 for a share of the 50 by 100 parcel of Del Monte land. Del Monte land.
Sorry.
No, just when you think I've finished the story, okay, others have established a quarry and have started mining stones.
Inside the same place.
Yes.
Lovely. Okay, so, of course, I have many questions.
Right.
Question number one.
Inside the same land,
Yes.
this is going on.
Yes.
Somebody's allowing it to happen.
Well, that's why the DCC is coming to speak.
Yeah. Yes. Somebody's allowing it to happen.
And you see, let's trace it a couple of issues back here. Remember, even last year, the governors of Murang'a and Kiambu were talking about, so the lease for Del Monte is about to expire. We are not going to renew that lease. This is what their father was saying, and Mwangi of Milk. We are not going to renew this lease. This land must revert to the people of Murang'a and of Kiambu. There are people who need to be settled, landless people who need to be settled, and we can use this land for development. Why is one company just taking all these thousands of acres? That was the precursor to this whole conversation. The lease is expiring. It's the next step. So people are positioning themselves. These are land grabbers who want to carve squatters around them. So even if you ever come and say, okay, no, the lease has expired, now let's go into have a
you can't kick these people out.
Not only that, there are 1,000 people looking at
you. You can't. You will say you can't. Where do you want these people to go?
Some of these people are actually third generation buyers of this land.
In fact, if you look at history, this was their forefathers' land. How are you going to disprove that? Del Monte has 22,000 acres of land, of which 18,000 are in Murang'a County.
Bas.
You see, what do you set in motion?
This is theft in motion.
Yes.
It's people who are very well placed, influential people, who are sponsoring squatters into this land. So go and sell. You know, it will be a whole process. Someone comes, demarcate, sell, blah, blah, blah. The guys who are selling now, the people who will buy, they'll buy and sell. So by the time this issue, the government is dealing with this issue, you'll be dealing with third generation buyers of that stolen land. And now it will be like, surely, these people are innocent. They did not, I mean, as all these things was happening, where was the government? They'll forget that Miss Mutua is her name Mutua?
Her name is Angela. That Angelina is, I've given her the name, but she's actually called Angela.
It's good.
They'll forget that the county commissioner had told them, please,
watch this thing.
Beware.
But you know what is interesting? The issue of the renewal, yes, the collective father and the of milk may have said what they said, but the National Land Commission, there's talk about them processing the renewal. Now remember, this company has given ceded land to both Kiambu County and Murang'a. They've ceded land. Murang'a, for instance, has got 1,400 acres. For what purpose? Affordable housing. Blah,
Those
blah,
things,
blah, 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 blah.
1,400
acres. And yes. But what is happening when somebody these stone cutting machines, it's no longer manual.
No.
Somebody installs a machine.
Yeah.
So
and then they start blowing baruti there. Boom.
Yes.
And it's not a whisper either, eh?
No. And their lorry is coming in and going out. I mean,
this
come
is
on.
why I asked where this place is. This activity that's happening here, a quarry, my friend.
See, here's the thing. You as Del Monte, raise a finger.
Yeah. You can't talk.
You
What
can't.
do you mean?
See, you've seen that, probably this is one of that 1,200 acres that Del Monte has earmarked. This is what we're going to give back to the community.
Yeah.
Okay. This enterprise in Kenya.
The county government, this is now the land for the county government. By the time the county government comes, there'll be people there.
And
affordable housing, what? See, this is affordable. These are
what do you
homes.
mean? These are stones for affordable housing. What are you talking about?
In fact, we're helping you. Where?
Right.
Let me tell you about this one by Safaricom, the case. The High Court is allowing millions of Safaricom subscribers to join a class action suit against the telecoms operator over a clause in the SIM card regulation rules that allows Safaricom to collect bank details of mobile phone users. Remember when we had the whole thing that Mr. Chilobe at CCK had told mobile operators, you guys never collect data. Can you up your game? And then Safaricom and Airtel and Telecom.
They don't collect data.
Don't register SIM cards. We have very many unregistered SIM cards. Can you do that? Then they did it. Clause 3.2.1 in the data privacy statement of Safaricom says, which is part of what subscribers feel that part of the registration process, says the telecoms operator can collect and store information, including credit or debit card information on bank account numbers, SWIFT codes, or other banking information. Remember, you're only registering your SIM card. But they can collect your PIN, your data on your credit cards or your debit cards or your bank accounts or your SWIFT codes and all those things. Now, High Court Judge Chacha Mwita has allowed two senior counsel, Wilfred Derito and, I turn the page like CT, Charles Kanjama, to invite other subscribers through the class action suit to press for Safaricom to delete the clause. The judge has directed the lawyers to publish a notice in a daily newspaper inviting Kenyans who may wish to join this suit. The clause appears in a 58-page document that has the terms and conditions attached to last year's update of SIM card registration. Wait a minute. It's a 58-page thing. Who was going to read that? All those things so you can register your SIM card.
Yeah.
Cool,
As you're registering your SIM card, you want to make a call.
But the lawyers are arguing that Safaricom's dominance of the Kenyan mobile market forced subscribers to accept that clause, arguing that users had no leverage to decline inking the SIM card registration rules. So the judge said, okay, go get people who are interested. Bring it. We're going to hear it.
I like it. You know what I like? Let's hear your side of the story.
Yeah.
Previously, it would have been, no, these guys in operation, go ahead and do what they say. No. My friend. Come, let's hear your side of the story. Let's hear this thing. Let's look at what the law says. The buffer is the law.
Yep.
What does the law say? If it's contrary to what the law says, then I'm sorry, we're going to have to protect the citizens, innit?
You know, our lawmakers understand this issue of the law being supreme better than most of us even assume. Well, let me say, than I assume. Because if I look at the war that was waged on Chapter 6, okay? Moral coding. You know, when I talk about coding, the chapter that deals with moral coding, my friend, you drown it. So even when it rears its head a little bit.
But then speaking of Chapter 6 CT,
yes, please.
I think there's a job that you should apply for. You'll still continue working with us here, but
please,
Idea Kenya.
Tell me,
Kenya.
Job.
Yeah. The Public Service Commission has declared vacancy in the position of Chairperson, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Yes.
For appointment as chairperson, a person should hold a degree from a university recognized in Kenya. So you have that. You should have knowledge and experience of not less than 15 years in any of the following fields.
I have more than 15
Ethics
years.
and governance, you have that knowledge.
Kabisa.
So you have knowledge on leadership.
Knowledge? Coming out of my ears.
So you have knowledge on social studies.
Coming out of my ears.
You have knowledge on religious studies of philosophy.
Coming out of my ears.
Public relations and media.
I'm the emblem of it.
So you have knowledge on fraud.
I have grave knowledge on fraud.
Now that you've sold a man.
See, this man is still stuck on that piece of rock which he chose to buy.
So, the only thing that would disqualify you, which I don't think it disqualifies you, is you are disqualified to be chairperson if you are a member of a governing body of a political party.
No.
Do you belong to any party?
No.
If you are an undischarged bankrupt, you're not bankrupt.
No, not yet.
Wow. Do you have
If
plans?
you've been convicted of a felony,
Not yet.
you haven't. If you have been removed from public office for contravening the provisions of the Constitution,
No.
there you go.
I needed to have been in public office to have been removed. So
Fully
never
qualified.
been.
Know what? After the end of this show, next week, the work that we're going to do is help you to get this application. We get clearance from KRA, HELB, CRB, DCI, and a printed online self-declaration application. Evo too.
That's all.
That's all. And City Muga, chairman.
So I can go in
EACC.
quietly and eventually leave also quietly.
Quietly, in and out quietly, indeed.
This easy kazi ya pressure.
Hizi kazi ya pressure. Unakaa tu unaangalia watu.
Unakaa tu, unaitwa meetings unaongea.
In 2 minutes, let me tell you about a guy who was part of a gang. And then, in the time when they went to rob somebody's house, the man fell in love. One of the men in the gang fell in love with one of the victims. Now, you may ask, over what period of time was this crime? 8 hours.
What?
And he fell in love. Now, of course, they were rounded up, they were arrested, blah, blah, after some time, taken to court. Judge said, by falling in love with one of his victims, a member of an armed gang of robbers breached code and botched a robbery in Bahati in Nakuru County.
Breached which code?
Theft
The
code.
code of the gang. All right?
You haven't heard about honor among thieves?
I'm
Go
telling
on.
you, love amongst the criminals. Witness accounts and analysis by the judge in the case against 3 robbers with violence suspects have revealed that Kevin Matundura developed romantic feelings towards one of his victims during an 8-hour robbery in a house 5 years ago. It didn't take long for this guy to fall.
Okay.
You haven't heard of love at first sight?
This one was first sight for
Imagine
sure.
the ordeal, man. 8 hours.
8 hours.
And you're just in love.
Okay, go on.
Now, he developed feelings for the house help in the home they were robbing, and it proved too costly for his gang members. Bana, tumekuja kufanya kazi, wewe umeanza kunini. The robbery happened on the night of March 14th when Matundura joined his gang of merry men for a robbery. Their mission was to raid the home of James Wamugunda, a former businessman. The mission was to rob the house. This guy now came and decided he was doing something else. They went where Mr. Wamugunda was assessing his daily report, while another 2 entered the house through the back door. They wielded pistols, they did their business, and they decided now, as they were robbing him and got the guy to lie down, they ransacked pockets, took money and phones, and, they continued. Meanwhile, in the main house, the other 2 had forced the occupants, the wife and the house help, to also lie on the floor, and they took their phones. Now, Matundura's eyes landed on the house help, and he was instantly smitten and lost focus on the robbery. While the other gang members went and started beating up this one, started soothing the woman, and told her everything was going to be okay. And he could assure her safety.
This is in court.
This is in court.
So has he been found guilty of love or guilty of robbery?
No. No.
Is it love with robbery?
In 10 seconds. You have to tell us this story at the beginning of the hour. Because you have to tell. So how did it end? So what is the judge saying? I find you not guilty. I mean, you did not steal.
I'll tell you.
I find you disruptive.
I'll tell you.
I find you disruptive. Keep it here for that. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning. Azimio la Umoja Party's leadership will soon issue a comprehensive statement in regards to a report detailing how the August 2022 general elections were allegedly rigged in favor of President William Ruto. Azimio says it will do so once party leader Raila Odinga returns to Kenya from South Africa, where he's hosting a series of meetings led by Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka. They label the alleged revelations as startling.
Kenyans and the world woke up to the startling revelation of the 2022 presidential election results by IEBC whistleblowers. The data released by the whistleblowers is a bombshell that compels every Kenyan of goodwill to ask themselves if indeed we still have a democracy. According to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, the data calls into question the outcome of the presidential elections and the credibility and legitimacy of our entire electoral system and infrastructure.
And the recruitment of the new IEBC chairman and commissioners is set to start after senators approved a bill on a panel that will conduct the exercise. Some 28 senators voted in favor of the IEBC Amendment Bill 2022 that changes the composition of the selection panel. This now means that Parliamentary Service Commission will second 2 members, Public Service Commission will produce 1, and LSK 1 person to the panel. Interreligious Council will have 2 slots.
Honorable Senators, the results of the vote on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 49 of 2022 is as follows. The ayes 28, the nays 7, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2022, National Assembly Bills number 49, 2022, and its approval thereof without amendments. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
The impasse at the Kericho County Assembly has been resolved and the majority and minority leader and whip positions allocated. A meeting chaired by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua saw voting taking place and the leadership decided.
The issue of the leadership of the House of the Assembly have been resolved to the satisfaction of each and every member. And as a result, elections have been held and the results have been accepted. The following members were elected for the above positions. The majority leader will be the Honorable Philip Rono. The deputy majority leader will be Honorable Fancy Chepkoril Koril. The majority whip will be the Honorable Aaron Rotich. And the deputy majority whip will be Bavina Serem.
Rigathi further said that similar negotiations were ongoing to end the deadlock in Meru County Assembly.
I have held discussions with the leadership of the Senate and the National Assembly. I held a further discussion with the members of the Meru County Assembly, and I held another different discussion with Governor Kawira Mwangaza, and all of them are unanimous that we must seek to bring about peace and stability in Meru. In the next 1 week, I'll be having a roundtable discussion with the governor, members of the National Assembly, the Senate, and the members of the County Assembly with a view of restoring peace and stability in the county of Meru.
And President William Ruto launched the Ruiru Affordable Housing Project in Kiambu County. Ruto said the project is set to deliver 1,000 housing units.
Ujenzi tumeanzisha hapa ni nyumba 1,000. Hapa Kiambu tumekubaliana na gavana wenu na wizara yetu ya kwamba Kiambu tunajenga nyumba 50,000. 50,000. Hii sasa ni 1,000. Sasa imebaki 49,000. Na tumekubaliana na Wamatangi ya kwamba atafute ardhi katika kila township kubwa hapa Kiambu tuweze kugawana hizo manyumba, kwa sababu tunataka kuondoa aibu ya watu kuishi mahali ambapo hapafai.
The head of state further said that over 6 million Kenyans were living in slums and his government was set to build over 200,000 homes every year to change this.
So hiyo kazi ambayo tunataka kufanya ni hatua ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba Wakenya wataishi mahali pazuri. Ni safari mrefu, itachukua muda, lakini tutaanza sasa. Ndio tumesema tunataka kujenga nyumba 200,000 katika taifa letu la Kenya kila mwaka. Tayari tuko na ardhi kama hii karibu ekari 4,000 ya kujenga manyumba. Tayari we have the land to construct the first 600,000 houses already. Tunafanya kazi na county governments 38 na hiyo kazi ya kutafuta ardhi ya kujengea Wakenya manyumba inaendelea.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
SpiceFM Nakuru.
Any different from about half an hour ago? Indeed. A little bit of traffic that's built up on the Thika Superhighway coming into the CBD. And it's busy on Kiambu Road. We're looking at bumper to bumper in both directions, but we know that's all 5 lanes that's coming out through to the Muthaiga Square. Coming off of Jogo Road, traffic has already started to build up right around that Makadara train station. It's going to take you out towards Landis and then through to the Kamkunji roundabout onto Haile Selassie. Not much coming off of Gong Road, at least not for now. It looks a little bit busy coming out of Westlands, just looking at Wayaki Way, heading out towards Limuru Road. Some traffic there that's built up quite some. All right, what else are we looking at here? Industrial area, Jogo Road, then leading on to Lunga Lunga and then to Lusaka. Busy traffic, and it's going to continue for some time from all indications. Coming off of Mombasa Road, heading out into the city, we're seeing some building up on Haile Selassie and then out through towards the Huru Highway. Keep an eye on things for what's going on where you are. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of the show this Friday. Happy Friday, the 20th day of 2023. Reminding you that schools are opening next week. And so what happens?
Step up and shine with Kiwi. School fees is an issue. Man, the lines are starting to queue up. How about one less thing to worry about in terms of paying those bills? It's school fees. And Kiwi says you can step up and shine to do just that. Walk into any supermarket today. Buy a tin of your black Kiwi polish. The one that Eric is tick-tacking on right now is the 40 grams, n'est-ce pas?
Yes, and 80 grams.
80 grams.
100 ml.
Voila. So what you need to do, walk in, buy a tin of that, small, large, whatever your fancy is. Then you'll find a code under the lid. You will dial *459*5#. Send that code to that number. You get instant airtime or bundles. And then you also get a chance to enter into the draw, which could have you win what? 35,000 shillings towards school fees. It will make a dent in your debt.
Indeed.
You could use it. Step up and shine with Kiwi today.
Indeed. We have a guest in the studio. His name is Dr. Mukhwana Kisika. He's from MSF. Say that, MSF.
Médecins Sans Frontières.
Okay, say it now properly.
Doctors Without Borders. N'est-ce pas?
Yeah, you got it right.
Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. But before we welcome him, he has to hear the day's proverb.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
This is our final proverb from the country of Mozambique. Now, isn't this coincidental and delightfully so? A parasite cannot live alone.
There's a doctor in the house. A parasite cannot live alone.
No.
There's going to be a host.
There has to be a host.
So it's not about there are many parasites. It's about
there are many hosts.
It's the hosts.
Yes, it's like saying people are spreading. COVID is spreading. COVID isn't spreading.
People are moving.
We are spreading COVID. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Daktari, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante sana.
Karibu sana. Before we start our conversation, which will be about cholera and cholera spreading in the country, Ndu was telling us a story that she needed to finish. Something happened in court.
Right.
And it's a sad story and also a bizarre story.
It's a bizarre story.
A robbery with violence incident where robbers entered a house and they stayed in the house for 8 hours.
Yes.
Tormenting the occupants of that house.
2 of them tormenting the owner in his shed outside the house. Another 2 of them in the main house tormenting the owner's wife and his house help.
Okay.
One of them now, in the 8-hour ordeal, falls in love. It only takes 8 hours to fall in love nowadays, apparently. Falls in love with the house help. And while they're harassing the wife, He then decides to go and start to soothe this lady because, now, he likes her. Soothes her. They obviously start to waste time in that area, and he's trying to get her.
They occupy themselves in that manner.
Right. Yes. And then gets her to calm down, essentially, because he says, I love you, this kind of thing. You can actually come and we can build a life together after this.
We can steal together.
Yeah. So he was basically getting her to be all right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in the course of all of this melee, the two outside have to come inside to get these two folks to say, look, we need to go.
Time.
Because we are done. Nini, you are doing here. Yeah. We need to go. They had already stolen whatever they wanted to steal. They were trying to get out. The owner now was able to call for help.
Okay.
Call for help. These fellas get arrested. This is 5 years ago. This is not a today story.
Okay.
Get arrested.
All four.
All four of them get arrested.
Okay.
They are taken now. The charges are crazy.
They're arrested on the day of the robbery or later?
Later.
Okay.
Later after this whole thing. They eventually get away, whatever.
Okay.
In their defense, bizarre as it may be, these guys said this situation would not have been so bad if this guy did not break the code of the gang by falling in love with this. And more bizarre is that the judge agreed that this guy actually broke the code of this gang. That does not, however, stop the fact
that you stole robbery with
violence, gang rape, and many other things.
All right.
So you've all still been charged. However, true, you broke code. Bro code, gang code, whatever
so
code.
So is this at the... Okay.
This was now during trial.
Okay.
They have all been found guilty and are now awaiting sentencing. However, the judge did agree. Young man, with your love...
You broke the code.
You broke the code of the gang.
Okay. Now, there's... because I was thinking, well, if he was spending that time just talking to the house help and not raping her, I'm okay.
That was one of the defenses.
But now
he actually did not.
One of the charges there is rape.
Now, because the other gentleman and one of the others from outside did actually come in and perform the act. All right. This one man, which was what his defense was, that I actually was not involved in this. I didn't do it.
It's a lesson to him that there are better ways of stealing a girl's heart. Not during robbery.
Wow. Hey. Bizarre stuff happens, I'm telling you. I thought it was really interesting that the judge actually said, you know what?
You broke the code. That's the main thing.
That
there's a precedent here by a judge saying, if you go and rob together, stick together. All right?
Don't go off.
What is truly bizarre for me is that these individuals who are being charged are actually citing the activities of one of their own as having, it's like they are finding fault with this person to the point where they're suggesting if it wasn't for this person falling in love, we would
not have been caught.
Is that not bizarre? I mean, just think about it.
The whole thing is crazy from beginning to end.
Meaning, we are professional thieves.
Yeah.
And if this guy hadn't done the thing that he did,
he would have been caught.
Meaning it is okay. They're justifying this, whatever activities they're involved in. It's like someone is discussing a business plan.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's even somehow bizarre because normally, medically, you'd expect Stockholm Syndrome to be like
it was the other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah.
That's very bizarre.
The victim to be the one who falls in love with her tormentor.
But you know the silly guy, the next day, because he took the chick's number.
I'm sure that's how they were caught.
Yes, the silly guy called her and said, we're really sorry. Everything is going to be okay. So she went, of course, to the police. Police said, okay, you just agreed to meet him.
And that's why the other gang is furious.
Yeah, you agreed to meet him. That's how they met.
Phone traced, arrested, give everybody up. Daktari.
Yeah.
Welcome. So this MSF, as Ndu calls it in French, Medecins Sans whatever, Doctors Without Borders.
Yes.
What organization is it? Just for people who see the logo, see the words written, have come across it, what is it that MSF does?
MSF is an international humanitarian organization. We are completely independent from any political or any religious affiliations. And our main goal is to offer emergency aid to the populations that are in conflict. There are enduring epidemics, they are having natural disasters. So that is what we basically do, and we are over 70 countries worldwide. Yes.
So is it one organization or are there branches of an MSF?
It's one organization. We have one parent organization, but we have various missions. So we could have MSF France, MSF Belgium, MSF Switzerland, MSF Spain. So it's a conglomerate of these MSF missions that come together. Yes.
All right. In Kenya, what are you doing in Kenya? We are not in conflict.
Okay, in a way, there are effects of conflict. For example, the refugee camps in Dadaab, Dagahale, we are there. We also have areas where we have epidemics. And for example, in Nairobi, you have cholera epidemics. We are here. And we also offer this aid to populations that are vulnerable and kind of disenfranchised from the normal economical decisions that are made. So, for example, in Nairobi, we are situated in Eastlands. In Homa Bay, we also offer specialized care in the hospitals to deal with the non-communicable diseases, because we have a high prevalence of HIV/AIDS that side. So we have made camp there to offer our help.
So how do you work with the government? So there's government facilities. You are offering humanitarian medical assistance.
Yes.
But there's a medical structure in place being provided by government.
Yes.
Do you work with that, or do you set up on the side?
Definitely, we abide by the law of the country, and we come in within the framework that has been laid by the Ministry of Health. So we seek a way in through a partnership and collaboration with the MOH, just as any other stakeholders. So we get a way in through discussions, and when we find a niche where we can support the government, either through resources, medical supplies, technical support, then that's when we come in.
Okay.
Yes, because the resources that are there are never really enough.
Never enough.
Yes, yeah.
We'll always appreciate external assistance.
Yeah.
Let's now talk about cholera. So there's a cholera outbreak that's been announced by the Ministry of Health, covering and affecting several counties. Nairobi is one of them. Which other counties?
We have Tana River, Garissa, Wajir, we had Kajiado, Embu, a total of 14 counties. Yes.
What? How many cases must you see, and in what areas for it to be called an outbreak? If there's one case in one place, is that sufficient enough for it to be an outbreak? What constitutes an outbreak of any disease?
Okay, there are epidemiological indicators that are needed, but then it is context specific depending with the burden to the healthcare system. So there's no specific number, but that depends with the public health system of a specific country or a specific county to see that they're being overwhelmed. But normally, we really consider Nairobi as an endemic region, because at any given time you might find one case or two cases being treated in a facility. But then when it becomes to the proportions of overwhelming the healthcare system, where it requires to have a specific cholera treatment unit or a specific cholera treatment center, then it is an outbreak.
And is that what we're seeing now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems to be recurrent. Every year, sometime during the year, we'll hear there's an outbreak. And then we see the posters, and folks are asked to be very careful about, washing your hands and being careful of your sources of water and the sources of water that wash your fruits and vegetables and things like this. So, are we saying that there's a pattern? Is there a pattern for outbreaks of this specific disease?
Yes, indeed, there is a pattern. We've kind of seen a cyclical 5-year period where we see outbreaks coming up. The last one was in 2018, 2019. And then 2014 also there was another outbreak. So there are postulations on why it could be happening.
Interesting, during the time where there was huge COVID presence in the country, and people were not really moving as such. There was no news of a cholera outbreak.
True. The measures that were put in place to assist with reducing the spread of COVID are kind of similar to the ones that prevent the spread of cholera. So you kind of see high population density, dense population, mass gatherings, massive population movements. Those are the kind of situations that make it conducive for the spread of cholera. So you might have a mass gathering like a party, then people move from either Kiambu, they go back to their homes, or you're going for festive seasons, you're going Ushago. So you kind of spread it easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
What exactly is cholera?
Cholera, in its simplest term, we can say it's a diarrheal disease, but it's different from the others because it's severe and it is a deadly diarrheal disease. If you don't seek prompt treatment, let's say within 2 hours, it has a fatal outcome.
You could die in 2 hours?
You could die, yes. So that's why we say, and the promptness we say, someone might say it's a day of seeking treatment, but it is a matter of hours. So anyone who notices ricey water diarrhea, it has a peculiar appearance. We should seek prompt treatment.
What is it that makes it so deadly?
It's because the massive fluid losses, like you lose a lot of water from your body within a short period of time. So, and when you lose a lot of water, it comes with the special minerals we call electrolytes. So once you lose these electrolytes, you now have kidney failure and other organ failure. So you go to shock. Shock leads to the organ failure. So
organ failure leads to
death. Yeah.
There are diseases that are referred to as forgotten diseases or neglected diseases. Many of them are tropical diseases.
Yeah.
Cholera is said to be underreported. Is it really true?
I'd say at the endemic level, it's unreported. Yes.
Explain endemic, please.
Yeah, endemic. Okay. At the endemic level means it's like malaria. Yes. Let's use malaria for example. There are areas where they are constantly there throughout the year. So it will not be reported per se. Because if, for example, COVID, which is a new emerging disease, and then you have it, and then you start having large numbers being reported, and there's not a lot of attention towards it. So when you have cholera cases, and it's 1 or 2 cases, and then considering that it affects majority of the underprivileged, then it kind of goes unreported.
So essentially, until there's an outbreak or until and unless it's just affecting a large number of people, it's essentially not talked about. Yeah. So it's neglected. It's one of those things. And yet it's deadly.
It is deadly.
But then there's still the issue of the response. The health facilities will still be equipped and on the lookout for such cases. So somebody who, even if it's not at widespread, but somebody who is reporting that severe diarrhea and they report to a health facility, what's the immediate response that a health worker?
Okay, currently we have a system that has been implemented by the government of reporting any, let's say, a disease of epidemic proportion. So that has been instituted that once you see any case at the facility, then you have to report. There's an app even for that report. Then continuously, once one reports, there needs to be surveillance, continuous surveillance into the community to see if there are any other cases sprouting up. And once you report, then there are committees, there are health management meetings that sit up to discuss and escalate the issue to the national level. And these factors in the devolution of health. So it has to progressively escalate to the highest level. Where even currently, right now, we have a national task force that is led by the government to coordinate the response in a specific way. MSF is among the stakeholders in that multi-agency task force. Yes.
Okay. I mean, obviously, looking at the spread of cholera is trying to see. The question is, how does it spread? How does it spread? One person gets sick, it's a diarrheal disease. Yeah. How does it get to the next person and the next person? Or must we all have partaken of that one, thing that one person got sick with? How does it get to the next person and then to the next county, like that?
Okay, I think at that time also I will talk about how, first of all, you get that one person, the incident case, how it happens. Most of the cases are due to ingestion or taking in contaminated water and contaminated food. And this contamination, we talk about being in touch with the human waste that has the bacteria. Cholera is actually a bacteria. It's called by a bacteria. So once the food is contaminated or the water, there's this one case, and this one case can now start preparing food, and they're using unhygienic practices. So those are some of the theories that we speculate could be the incident case. And also, if you have one single source of water that is contaminated, you get a huge population drinking that water, and you have so many cases. That's this case we are seeing in drought areas where we have single source of water, lack of safe water and sanitation. So that's how we see it. So once one person is infected, then you move around and spread it.
That one person, though?
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
Because now you're preparing food, and now you're.
So that person who has it, or is the person the spreader, or is this person ill?
So now there could be two scenarios. There are those who are asymptomatic. They carry that bacteria, but they do not have sufficient enough to cause symptoms. Same way with other diseases, that someone could be harboring the bacteria, but they're asymptomatic. They are continuously shedding, but people don't know they have it. So those ones are a different case. And then there are those ones who are symptomatic, who are shedding a lot of this bacteria through their human waste, because you can only spread it through human waste, like feces. So those are the two scenarios.
Okay. So we said the incident case is most likely human waste contaminating water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Then once, or food, but now the food is at what point? Someone went and did the thing, kwa shamba ya mboga, and then it was not cleaned. How does the human waste contaminate water? Someone went and, the water went and pooped in the water source, or close to the water source, and then there was rain. How does human waste and water, how do they come together? Water especially that is being consumed.
It's during rainy seasons, there's flow off of water, and then it's transmitted to the water sources.
Okay.
Yes. Also in Kenya, we have, especially in cities, we have sewerage systems that are not functioning, burst sewer pipes. So whenever it rains, there's a mixing of the rainwater with the sewer pipe waste to the water source.
To the water source.
Yes.
So now it goes into, then this one person takes the water, they get contaminated.
Yes.
So let's deal with the one that Ndu is asking. This person is asymptomatic. Like you're saying, they're shedding. So you are carrying the bacteria. You are shedding. So how do you spread it to the other people?
Okay. So once you go to the toilet, you do not wash your hands.
Okay.
Or you don't wash your hands properly with those soap and water. That is the way it should be, within 20 seconds.
But you need to have come into contact with your own waste.
Yes. There are people. I know where you're taking me.
I'm wondering, just going to the toilet doesn't mean that I've touched.
No, because when you are wiping yourself, you might accidentally touch.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you don't wash your hands.
But remember, you're not the only person who uses those facilities. This issue of touching, don't just limit it to yourself. When you go into a public place, you do not know what the person who was there before you has done. And so you could easily touch a surface that is already contaminated, and you have no clue whatsoever.
Okay.
So the washing of hands covers all these bases, so that it doesn't matter what it is someone did before you or what you did. You have ensured you're safe.
So this person has not washed their hands. Okay, spread it.
How does it go? This is my question. This person who is number one, asymptomatic, that means they don't have this
symptoms.
Rice water stool. They don't, so but they carry the bacteria. So this bacteria can also be found in the waste of an individual who is asymptomatic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they've gone to the washroom, they've not washed their hands.
Mm-hmm.
How does the next person get it from this asymptomatic person? I go shake your, if it is me, then I come shake your hand. I could pass the bacteria to you, and then you could become symptomatic. And the question is, then what are the chances?
But you need to ingest it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are the chances?
Okay. So someone shakes your hand, then
You prepare food.
They suck their thumb or what? I mean,
You prepare food. Most of the time it's food.
Okay.
So you contaminate food. So unhygienic food preparation methods. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah.
And how long? I mean, this is really important to know because I think we take it for granted quite often how fast something like this can actually spread. How long, for example, does the contaminant need to be on one's hands for it to then, if I go and then make a sandwich or something, how long? Or I'm preparing a meal in a restaurant as a worker. Exactly. How long will it stay on someone's hands before then it's still alive, for example?
Yeah.
What's the life of the bacteria?
Okay. So it depends whether it's a wet surface area or a dry surface
Okay.
area. Yeah. So wet surfaces area might take longer for it, but dry surfaces tend to stay a couple of days.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
But 1 week, even in wet surfaces, like food that is prepared and it's not hot enough, it can harbor that bacteria for a week.
This is why it's called a water disease.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the best way is just to wash your hands as frequently as possible with soap and water. And there are key specific moments where you need to be washing your hands after
visiting a facility.
Yes. And then before and after preparing food, after taking or washing or changing diapers for a baby, and then those ones. Basically, as frequent as possible, wash your hands with soap and water.
Let's take a break. Let's take a Minute Maid break because we need it.
Man.
So, Doc, what we have is a conversation from our friends at Minute Maid who say, Minute Maid is just about every time that you feel I need a bit of energy and flavor in my life. And what did you call it, City? What was that word? Not vavavoom. Not
you're talking about the Vituso.
Vituso. Yes. If you want some Vituso in your life, you take some Minute Maid. Okay. Time for that break. It's 27 minutes to 8. Our guest is Dr. Mukhwana Kisika. He is a project medical referent at MSF Mathare Project. We are talking about cholera prevention, preparedness, and control in Kenya.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Behind every crime and murder, there's a reason and a motive, some dark, some simple, and some unbelievably terrifying. But truth is, no one really knows what happens behind closed doors. Well, until now. I, John Allen Namu, will be opening the last door to reveal the truth behind the nation's most infamous criminal happenings in a new true crime documentary called The Last Door on Maisha Magic Plus DSTV channel 163 and GoTV channel 8. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. as we look into the heart of crime and sieve rumor from truth. Dial *423# to get or stay connected to DSTV or GoTV.
Looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Into a mostly sunny Nakuru at 13, highs of 29 and lows of 12. And it's sunny at 13 in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 11. Sunny at 12 in Eldoret, it'll go to highs of 26 today, and we'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa and Malindi. Okay, highs of 30 in Kisumu, where it's mostly sunny at 19, and it's 18 and sunny in Kakamega, highs of 32 and lows of 15. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions in Kampala at 20, and it's 27 and cloudy in Dar es Salaam. 18 and sunny conditions through Johannesburg, highs of 29, and it'll go to highs of 33 in a partly cloudy Lagos at 25. It's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 30 down to lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, so what are we looking at now in terms of traffic? We're looking at this road. It's called what? Coming in just past the Multimedia University. It's quite some traffic there. It is bumper to bumper. Quite something this morning.
Magadi Road.
Thank you very much, Magadi Road. And folks are really complaining over that. We're also looking at the protest that's happening in Gashie over the protest of poor roads. The project started and stalled over allegations of the contractor not doing his job. So there's some traffic there, and you might want to be careful if you're heading in that general direction, because folks have decided to light it up with tires. So please, careful as you approach that area, trying to bring it under wraps. Where else are we looking at traffic? On the Thika Superhighway coming into the city, we're looking at the same thing on Kiambu Road and Limuru Road and well into Gigiri. The Northern Bypass doesn't look too bad this morning. There's an option for you to use to get out and in much quicker. Yep, there it is, that Multimedia University area, quite something right about now. All right, we're also looking at a little bit of traffic coming off Mombasa Road, but nothing too painful. Keep an eye on things and let us know what's going on where you are this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
4 minutes to 8 with Dr. Muhwana Kisika. He's a project medical referent at MSF Madare Project, talking about cholera and the spread of cholera. 14 counties, right? The Ministry of Health has issued a warning and an alert. There are 14 counties where cholera is spreading and people need to be cautious. And you're saying it's all about hygiene.
Definitely.
So first of all, source of water. Second, if making sure that you wash your hands, you wash your fruits, you wash your vegetables, you wash your everything as you cook. But if you're doing all those things with the water that's contaminated, now tell me. So yes, I washed my hands, I washed the fruit before I ate, but the water is contaminated.
So yeah, for water, you have to treat the water if you don't want to get the infection. So treating water, boiling is the simplest way to treat the water.
So you boil water for everything? You boil water for washing hands?
Oh okay, yeah. You need to.
So this is what we're saying. So don't just wash your hands with water running off the tap, because there's cholera, for example, in Nairobi. There's a cholera alert in Nairobi. We don't know. It could be contaminated sources of water. It could be coming from contaminated water or whatever. Now, because we don't know, there's water flowing through your taps. Or it has been brought by a bowser and blah, 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 blah. It's now in your tank. It's flowing through your taps. Don't just say, I'm washing my hands and therefore now I can eat the apple.
Yeah, true. The source of water has to be assured of quality.
Okay.
So one, you can boil your water. Two, you can use chemicals to disinfect the water. And these are like, for example, Aquatab. Those are chemicals that you put in your water tanks and all that. Currently, there's a response where the county and the government, MOH, are disinfecting water tanks. They've been taking samples, that is part of the surveillance, samples from water tanks, investigating to see whether they are contaminated or they have traces of the cholera bacteria. So we disinfect the tanks and put the aquatabs in the water.
Is this something that happens when there's an outbreak? In my mind, when we talk about medical surveillance, is there movement even when there's no outbreak? Because then it seems to me that could be a preventative way of dealing with this thing, to make sure that these water sources through which sampling is being done right now can actually be treated the year through. Or do we wait until there's an outbreak, then we go collecting samples and then say, okay, let's treat the water, just to eliminate that possibility that it's the sources of water which are contaminated, as opposed to saying, how about we do a cyclical or routine treatment of the water sources to eliminate the possibility of infection from there?
Yeah, ideally that should be the case. And that's some of the measures that we are trying to put up in place right now together with the government, so that it could be an ongoing process. Yeah, but with lack of resources, those are some of the challenges that we see. So it might not be ideal.
Are there countries in the world where cholera has been eliminated completely?
There are countries where we have not seen these cases. Yes, they are
In a long
currently-
time.
Yes, yeah.
And why is that so?
Because of the level of development, they have systems that run, they have resources, they have professionals who are continuously doing the work.
Are you saying we don't have resources?
Our poop keeps getting into our water. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Even their poop gets into water. What do they do with it?
Our sanitation
and
services
and health surveillance services is totally, I think,
You see,
in the war
there's a
zone.
reason why I'm asking this question, simply as I'm asking it. Because everything the good doctor has mentioned here is not complicated.
Yeah.
And the resources that it requires are just fundamental, basic resources to ensure this thing gets done.
Yep.
All right? Ensuring you have a system that guarantees safe water is not something that is beyond the government.
But here I am looking at a situation because I shudder to think. Because we already know that majority of people who have access to water right now, it is not water running from a tap.
No, it's just water. You
It
don't
is
have
not.
no
You
clue
don't know
where
where
that
it
water
has
comes
come from.
Yep.
You don't know. And even if it doesn't run in your tap coming in from the city. Even if you turn on your tap, it's likely that it came from a Bowser that has emptied into the tank.
Yep.
So this is the thing. At source, whatever these sources are, at source, if that water is treated, could we not eliminate a significant percentage of the risk? And shouldn't that be what we're looking at? Before you even say the person who's buying 10 crates of the 10 containers of the water off the push cart, at least there can be some sense of surety that even the water in those thingies, the yellow things, has been treated at the very least. Even if they're to boil it, at least you are sure that the first line of defense has already been met. Is that
if we
possible?
didn't have adequate water sources, then this issue of water, I'd tread on that particular path gently, because I'd say, we don't really have water. But we don't have a problem with water sources. We have water.
There's water. And that's what I'm saying. And
where are you talking about?
No, but
the availability of water, just water. Water bodies, water that can be used.
if there was no water, we would not see these Bowsers running up and down, because they're bringing it from somewhere.
So you're talking about Nairobi?
I'm talking about Nairobi.
Yeah,
that's why I
because
said
there
I
are some
would
of those
shudder to
counties
think.
that we're talking about where the water sources are far and scarce.
I'll give one of the examples of one of the counties that you mentioned.
Yes.
Towards the east of the country, where we saw some pictures of where people have to go and get water from to survive on a daily.
Yep.
You don't even want to think about.
So it's one water pan that is serving a community 40 kilometers radius.
And there's an outbreak in that county today.
Those pictures don't, in my mind, depict an absence of water. It depicts an unwillingness of people to solve the problem of water. Because when I say water sources, I'm not talking about the rain. I'm not talking about the rivers. I'm talking about aquifers. I'm talking about water as a resource and its availability. It exists. That we haven't tapped into it, and that we have not taken the steps that are required to ensure that we make it available. Now that, if you ask me, the problem is right there. So, what we see, now, those are individuals making the effort. Where are their governments? And now that we have gone, where are they?
So isn't that the thing, Dr.
Yeah.
When we talk about preventative care, for me, it goes much further than washing your hands.
True.
Because we've already established that the source of the water could be well in advance contaminated.
Yes.
If we're really serious about preventative care, it should be at that level of source.
Yeah, true. We need to have a regulation. You have licensed people who sell water. In case of where we can't have one water company supplying the whole city.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have very effective measures of regulating a specific industry like water, we know where they're getting the source of water.
Exactly.
They have a license. Most of these areas we see these water bowsers, we don't know where they're getting the water. Yes, we don't know which standards of purifying the water they take it through.
Yeah.
Yes, and there are different levels.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Sure.
to cut their profits, they don't do some of these things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, is there a regulation, as far as you know, for water bowsers in Nairobi are licensed by the Nairobi City County, right?
Yeah.
Boreholes are licensed by the Water Management Authority.
Yes.
Now, the Water Management Authority, we've had this conversation here before with MCA Robert Alai and others, and we know in terms of after you've been licensed, the Water Management Authority does not come to test the quality of the water that you've actually found in your borehole. So they don't know the safety of the water. But is there a regulation that requires the water bowser from wherever you've bought, you treat the water before you sell it to your customers? Whatever the source of water, either you keep testing, and two, you make sure that there is treatment of that water, like you're saying. Put the tub in the tank.
Okay. With the risk of being politically insensitive,
That's
I
a good
think
risk.
Kenya, it's not a lack of regulations and policies. We do have them. I think it's a matter of implementing those. So I'm pretty sure in some of these regulations, and if you open these books, you'll find these laws and regulations. Yeah.
You know, I want to change topic just a little bit, if I may, and talk about MSF. You guys were set up in what, 1971?
1987. We've been in Kenya since 1987.
No. Globally.
Oh, yes.
Ndu, you might want to hear this.
I'm listening.
The Biafran War is what kicked off what MSF started doing. That was one bloody battle.
It was.
But the thing that MSF did, it's doctors and journalists got together. My question.
Yes.
How is that relationship with journalists? I mean, don't quote this now as an example of MSF working with journalists, okay? How exactly do you currently work in conjunction or in association with journalists in your work? Or the media, let's call it the media.
I would say I'm also a journalist in a way, because part of our principles that we do, we have something called témoignage, which is witnessing. So in the context that we are, whenever we see something that we need to speak out about, that is part of our scope. We try to speak out to the world, to show them and to highlight the problems and the challenges that specific vulnerable populations, either those in conflict or those who are underprivileged, going through health situations, and maybe the mainstream system cannot speak about them. So that is how we relate with journalists. Yes.
Now, there's also the mandate you have for providing what one may call humanitarian aid effectively, impartially, quickly, irrespective of someone's belief, someone's religion. When you work in war-torn areas, how does that work out? How do people get to understand that you will treat anybody irrespective of which side of the conflict that they are on? Because I see this as a problem.
I think the reputation that we've had for so long precedes us. In conflict situation, if someone sees our logo, which is our running man in red, they kind of understand that we are impartial already. And we offer services to both parties. Whether you are the conflicting parties, we offer services, and they know we set up rules. Like, for example, you cannot come to a health facility with a gun. You have to leave out your gun. So whether you are a rebel, whether you are a policeman, we cannot allow you to enter the facilities to receive. So we are impartial in that way. And it's something that precedes us. Yeah.
How do you get funded? Because all this work is hard work and it's costly.
Yes.
How do you get funded?
We are volunteers. We volunteer. And funding comes from philanthropic donors. But for us at the volunteer level, we are not part of the donation process. But at the field level, the project level, we are all volunteers.
So at that point, you focus on the work that you have.
Yes.
For example, you are a medical referent.
Yes.
What is that?
It's a
medical referent.
In the simplest term, it's a medical team leader, but I oversee and implement the project.
Okay.
Yes. So I've focused on...
so you're basically a medical project manager?
Yes.
Referent is a fancy word.
It is, but also, Dr. when you say you volunteer, the very concept of volunteerism in this country means you're not paid. You're volunteers who are given a reasonable stipend.
You're motivated.
Essentially,
yes.
Whatever it is you may get as a remuneration doesn't reflect the work you do or your qualification.
Yes.
So essentially,
If I'm to be paid, I'd be given the whole world. Doctors, you'd say
for the work
generally
that
for
you
doctors,
do. Yes.
for doctors.
So, what are you currently doing as MSF to address this current crisis, the cholera outbreak?
So first of all, I'd like to say that we are doing this by supporting and collaborating with the Ministry of Health.
Mhm.
So we've set up cholera treatment units in Mama Lucy. We've set up a 16-bed cholera treatment unit. In Bagadi, we have supported with the 27 beds. So in these cholera treatment units, we support with the medical supplies, technical support by training the human resource. And then also in Homa Bay, we've set up 2 CTUs. Those are cholera treatment units, and they have a capacity of 12 beds. In the refugee camps in Dagahale, we've also set up now a cholera treatment center. These are very huge area that can cater to 60 patients at any given time. So aside from setting up these CTUs, we have health promotion teams who engage communities to create awareness, to sensitize them on these preventive and promotive measures. And then we also do water and sanitation works. We have some logistic departments that sets up latrines, provides safe water. And now the other step that we are doing is you are lobbying the government through the task force to provide the cholera vaccine. Yes. So it's more of putting together resources to support the Ministry of Health where there is a gap or where they need our support. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the cholera vaccine? In terms of how widespread inoculations have gone, and then efficacy of it in terms of preventing cholera with a jab?
So far, we've not had a vaccination campaign. We are yet to get that. The government had ordered around 2.2 million vials of vaccine, but so far I think we are going to get about 800,000, but it is yet to kick off. This vaccine, I'd say, if not depending on the government, it's cost prohibitive. It is around 5,000 for the 2 doses. Now for a normal person, that would be expensive. But then its effectiveness, you get 2 doses, and it will last for about 3 to 5 years. That's the one that has been pre-qualified by the World Health Organization. So if you have that, you have about, by the 5th year, the effective rate, that would be 65% protection. Yes. So it kicks off within 6 months to 3 years, but as it progresses, the effectiveness reduces. Yeah.
So it's very expensive.
It is. Even for the pediatric vaccination, it's expensive. It's just that it is subsidized.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why the government now, as a response measure, it's coming in to order and subsidize that.
The vaccine itself.
Yeah, the vaccine itself.
So there's currently a drive.
Yes.
Is there currently a vaccine drive in these 14 affected counties?
Yes. The task force will select the areas that have been worse hit by the outbreak and do the vaccination there. Yeah, but currently we are waiting for the arrival of the dosages.
Seems so cheap to be able to get this disease, but then really expensive to treat it, or even prevent against it. What are the treatment mechanisms for cholera? So if you get into hospital, we know that the isolation wards for cholera and things like this. What kind of treatment do folks get? And then how quickly can you recover after having gotten cholera?
I'd say cholera is very simple to treat. You just need to rehydrate, get the intravenous fluids. And this is what MSF is also supporting, giving the intravenous fluids to replenish the lost water. You can also have the oral rehydration solution just to replenish. We also have antibiotics, but the purpose of the antibiotics is really to shorten the duration of the disease and to reduce that shedding so that you don't spread it. So ideally, in a good setup, 2 to 3 days, you are out of the disease. Okay. Yes, the very effective healthcare system. So where you have human resource, you have the medical supplies, and then you have prompt treatment.
It's amazing to think that rehydration and then the reinstitution of electrolytes will cure something that could essentially damage your whole system in just what you said, 2 to 3 hours of non-treatment.
Yes.
And then that rehydration then can essentially puts everything back in 2 days.
Yes, and that's why we encourage prompt treatment.
Okay, what percentage of our bodies is water?
Around, let's put it around 70, around there. Yes.
And what role does water play in our bodies?
Almost everything.
Precisely. So if it isn't there, then almost everything can go wrong.
Yes.
In a very short period of time.
So the issue of having safe water, the issue of having water that you can rely on is of crucial importance.
Yes. Water is life.
Potable water by 2020, my friend. Was it?
Which 2020?
No, past.
I'm just checking.
Now it's a sustainable development goal.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody shall have potable water. Everybody shall have proper sanitation. All those things. Article 43 of the Constitution is a guaranteed right and all. I want us to go back into the issue of now we are dealing with practicalities. All right, there's a cholera outbreak in very many of these counties. It could be coming from there's poor hygiene, but then there's also the issue of the water that we use. It could be contaminated, and you don't know. And there's the importance of knowing how to maintain proper hygiene, wash your hands as regularly as possible, like you said, with water and soap, and before you prepare a meal, after you use the toilet and all that. But then there's the issue of if the water itself is contaminated, you need to treat that water.
Yes.
So either boil or treat, or is it only treat? Is boiling good enough?
Boiling is good enough.
So boiling is good enough.
Yes.
But also it's important to know you're boiling this water. If you wash your hands with contaminated water and then you go and then put clean boiled water in a glass and you drink, that's fine. But then after that, you're going to touch this apple that you washed with the same contaminated water and start eating.
Yeah.
So if you're using anything to put in your mouth, make sure that the water is treated.
Yes.
All right.
As simple as that. That's why you say it's a simple disease but a deadly disease.
Go to a market or go to any market and you're buying a fruit. It's maembe season. You're buying a mango and the person just washes it for you there. It's a risk.
It's a risk.
You're walking by and you find this guy who sells sugarcane and he's wearing the glove, yes, but
he's wearing the
everything
same
else.
glove.
The knife, he cleaned the knife with that running water. It's a risk. Oh,
yeah, it is. That's why we have public health measures to check the street vendors and
and that's what I was going to ask. That what is the communication? What is the public communication? We see public communication on very many diseases: polio, HIV, diabetes, etc., etc. What's the public communication for something like this that requires? Exactly. In the marketplaces, you have people who are washing a fruit for you. Onja too, quickly go. What would be the communication at that level to say, if you're going to provide water for people to wash the fruit they buy from you, for example, can you make sure at the very least that that thing of water you have has a tab of something to make sure it's clean?
Yeah.
Do things like that exist? Shouldn't they be?
That should be the communication, public communication.
Yeah.
Right now, the public service announcements from the Ministry of Health with 143 billion shillings that they spend a year should be on this kind of things, on making sure that we all know. So even if you go to the market today and buy fruits and bring them home, and they're from the market, so let me wash them so that the children just don't come and take. You're washing, running water. Yes, water came from a Bowser, water came from the Kanjo source, but you have not treated that water. You still run the risk of actually still spreading and catching and spreading cholera. Dr. thank you very much for joining us today.
Asante.
Yeah. So let's all be on the alert and complete lookout. Dr. Mwana Kisika is a project medical referent at MSF, Mathare Project. We've been talking about cholera, the prevention, preparedness, and control in the country. And he's here. He's told us, it's actually preventable. If we just are alert on what we are doing. But even if you get it, it's still treatable. All you need to do is rush to the hospital immediately. Asante sana daktari. Keep it here for more conversations. Coming up, we speak to Helen Pilale Nkaiseri. She's authored a book called The General and I. We want to hear about the general. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning. The National Government Affirmative Action Fund, NGAF, will be increasing by 1 billion shillings to 3 billion shillings in the next financial year. President William Ruto made the announcement when he hosted movement representatives from all the 47 counties. He said the increment would help address the plight of the vulnerable members of society, especially women. The head of state explained that the enhancement will also provide an avenue for the promotion of the enterprises and value addition initiatives. And Investments, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has hinted that in the near future, national identity cards will be used as a through pass within the East Africa countries to ease trade in the region. Kuria explained that they came up with this idea after realizing that some of the traders within the East Africa region are not able to afford passports, thus limiting them from exposing their business to other countries. He added that the ideas will also enhance social integration among the people of East Africa. And the backlog at the Ministry of Lands has held over 100 billion shillings worth of transactions. According to PS Nixon Korir, the ministry hopes to clear this backlog even as it fast-tracks the process of digitizing all land records. This as LSK plans to march to Ardhi House today to protest alleged inefficiency of the online platform. And an autopsy has revealed that Titus Minor, the man whose car plunged into the dam in Georgia, died after drowning. Titus was identified by his two wives and brother at the city mortuary, where his body and that of a lady he was with in his car were taken. One of his wives, Margaret Kiru, says she last spoke to her husband on the day of the incident and he told her that he was in a business meeting. Margaret claims she came to learn of his demise after receiving a call from the Kimbo police station.
Nikampigia nikamuuliza, hey baby, umefika wapi? Kaniambia niko hapa Juja, nakula kanyama nikuje nyumbani. Na nikamuuliza vizuri, nikupikie nini leo? Kaniambia tu yenye utaona nzuri. Na kaniambia nakuja. Hapo saa 3 ikafika, nikajaribu kumpigia, simu imezimwa.
The wife believes that the woman was his business partner. And police in Karatina arrested a 50-year-old man for attempting to defile a 12-year-old minor at Ihwagi village in Mathira East. The suspect was caught pants down by a relative who was passing by and saw him dragging the minor into his 3-bedroom house. The villager Dixon Weru was coming from his shop when he saw the man and the minor entering into the house. And a graft scandal involving European Parliament members that erupted last month sent shockwaves through EU circles in Brussels, with MEPs accused of taking bribes from Morocco and Qatar. Both countries vehemently denied the accusations. The European Parliament condemned what is described as a decline in press freedom in Morocco and said it was concerned by corruption allegations against Rabat. A graft scandal involving European Parliament members that erupted last month forced European circles to sit down and have a conversation about the same. Now, more than 1 million people marched in France to protest pension reforms, with some demonstrators clashing with police in Paris as strikes disrupted public transport, schools and much of civil service. The Interior Ministry put the total number of protesters marching against President Emmanuel Macron's plan to extend the retirement age at 1.2 million, including 80,000 in Paris. The hard-left CGT Union said there had been over 2 million people at protests across France and 400,000 in the capital alone. Another new one of action is planned for January 31st. And Mali's military rulers received more warplanes and helicopters from Russia, the latest in a series of deliveries from its new top military and political ally. Mali's military said the shipment included Sukhoi Su-25 attack planes designed to support ground troops and the Czech-designed Albatros L-39s, while initially designed for training purposes, have also been used as attack aircraft. Bamako also received Mi-8S, a Soviet-designed Russian transport helicopter that, as well as transporting troops and equipment, can be fitted with weapons to defend ground troops. And finally, Africa's capacity to produce drugs, vaccines, diagnostics and therapeutics all along the value chain is set to grow following the recent unveiling of the African Pharmaceutical Technology Foundation by the African Development Bank. It is expected the new initiative will help the continent to build its pharmaceutical sector. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Looking at it coming off of Thika Superhighway this morning and on Kiambu Road as well. Busy coming off Limuru Road. That whole area is doing the thing. All right, North Airport Road, and you're going to get onto Outer Ring and then going towards the Eastern Bypass. Some traffic there. Folks are touching on Outer Ring, Manyanja Road, Juja Road, Kangunda Road. All of that looks pretty busy right about now. You might want to think about using your bypasses to get out of the city and then come back in the other way if that makes sense. Westlands is looking busy as well. Let's keep an eye on things. We're getting into traffic hour proper now. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour or the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. Today is Friday, the 20th of January, 2023. We have a new guest in the studio. Before we welcome her, let's remind you that schools are opening next week.
Yes, they are. In 3 days, your children will be required to be in school, isn't it? Let's see with Kiwi how you can step up and shine. School fees is an issue, and they're saying you can do this. Go into any supermarket, buy a tin of the Kiwi black shoe polish, and then you will find a code under the lid of the tin that you buy. Dial *459 *5#. Send that code there. You win instant airtime or bundles and a chance to enter into the draw that is seeing folks win 35,000 shillings towards school fees. Something you want to think about? Step up and shine today with Kiwi.
Asante sana. Asante. Nashukuru sana kwa ujumbe wako huo. On Sunday at 8 p.m., John Alan Namu returns with The Last Door, the first true crime investigative series that's airing on Maisha Magic Plus, DSTV channel 163 and GoTV channel 8. This is where you get to see what happened. In very many cases, things happened. We had one previous one. The first episode was looking at the death of Tekra Muigai, the late daughter of Nakuru Senator Keroche. Then last week looked at the bodies that were discovered on river, and he was asking, so what happened? It was called the River of Skulls. This Sunday, we'll find out together what John Alan Namu has actually prepared. Helen Pilale Nkaiseri is the widow of the late Major General Joseph Nkaiseri, who served last as the Minister, the CS for Interior and Coordination of National Government in the Republic of Kenya. There's a new book out there by Helen Nkaiseri. It's called The General and I, and this is what we want to talk about, the memoir. Before we welcome her like we always welcome our guests by giving her the day's proverb. City?
Yes, the whole of this week our proverbs have been from the country of Mozambique.
Mozambique, pale.
Yes, otherwise known in Kiswahili as?
Msumbiji.
Yes, and not to be associated with the terrorist gang that was in Western Kenya called Angola Msumbiji. It's the country of Msumbiji. A parasite cannot live alone.
A parasite cannot live alone.
Yes. A parasite needs an enabler. Yes, in the absence of that enabler, that parasite will die. Parasite needs a host.
Indeed. That's true.
So one could call a parasite a community microorganism. It likes keeping company.
So as long as you're hosting,
yes,
you're hosting parasites.
Well, yes, indeed.
Your children should hear this. Helen Nkaiseri, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
At Assisi, we are happy that you've joined us this morning.
Yes.
And you also are, patron and boss of Ushanga.
I'm the chairperson.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Of, what is Ushanga?
Ushanga Kenya Initiative is a government program that was initiated in late 2017 as a way of assisting women from pastoralist communities to be able to use the art knowledge that they know of beads, that is Ushanga. And then our task is to help them to market and produce products that are easily marketable within the country and globally.
Okay.
One of them is the bracelet you are putting
This
on.
one.
That's Ushanga.
Proper Ushanga.
Yes. Yes.
So when they make these, what then that the Ushanga initiative do? Does it buy off them or does it bring the buyers to them?
Now, Ushanga Kenya Initiative is a government program under the Department of Culture. So we don't sell for them. We link them to markets. And we, in the counties, about 7, West Pokot, Turkana, Marsabit, Samburu, Baringo, Kajiado, and Narok, we have formed cooperatives. They are called Ushanga cooperatives. So we train them in to produce quality products. Then we link them to markets, and then the products are bought by whoever has needed to buy them. And then the money goes direct to the women through the cooperatives. Yes.
Okay. Beneficial to the people.
Yeah.
You have written a book about your life and times with General Joseph Nkaiseri, who was a member of parliament, and then he became a cabinet secretary. And let me just read some bits of the book. This is a story of an imposing man whose appointment to the country's top security seat made Kenyans feel relatively safe again after the 2013 Westgate Mall terror attack and the 2014 massacre in Mpeketoni. A patriot and fitness enthusiast, Nkaiseri's sudden death on the eve of a general election sent shockwaves worldwide. In the list of his unfinished work was his wish to write his life story. His widow Helen steps up courageously to bear witness and realize the general's dream. She weaves this memoir in the context of a Maasai cultural world set against a fast-changing political landscape. Very good book. And the foreword is by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Major General Joseph Kasaine Nkaiseri was one of the towering figures of our time, a man not just of dignity but also of diligence and loyalty. He left Kenya immeasurably better. Of course, we all agree that he contributed a lot in service. Did the content of this book, was the content of this book first contributed to by the late Nkaiseri and then you continued with it, or are these all your words?
These are all my words. In fact, the only thing he did is to have an idea, which he talked about, okay, after the elections of 2017, I will sit and write a book. And he even selected, and this is the picture that is going to be
on the cover.
On the cover, but actually not this one, because I picked this one for a reason. And we discussed that was what he was going to do after the elections of 2017 are done, that he was going to start writing his book.
Had he started journaling? Had he started putting his thoughts together, or everything was in his head? You were saying
everything was in his head. he believed that he could carry so much on his head. So he says, I already know what I want to write. So all this, it's me who wrote it. Yeah.
So having written the book, would you say you knew? Had he then downloaded what he wanted to say to you? Or would you say by virtue of the fact that you knew him, that you would be able to put in a book some of the things that you say he carried on his head?
I think both. In that, if you look at the message that maybe knowing him that he would have wanted to pass on was a message of encouragement to the family, to all those who knew him, and to the country and to the whole world. And he's somebody who valued relationships, both within the country and even internationally. And he kept those relations. So, and he would refer to what they did together. So I think he would have written most of it. And also, maybe I wrote what I believed so much he would have wanted, in that he wanted a document for his children, which they can refer to, which they can know what he did, maybe where he was not 100% perfect, and build from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
What did he do? What did he do that has been captured in this book that could go on to his children, his children's children? And not just that, but the country.
Believing in himself and never shying away to take up any responsibility, and the level of patriotism, that if you want a better country, then it's you who is supposed to step out and make it better. Yeah.
You know, there's General Kaisari, the military man, and then now there was the politician. Now, when a politician has a family, which means he has a wife and children, they become part and parcel of that process. I'm interested. What is the life of a politician's wife?
It's a tough life, I must say, but you choose whether to see it as a burden or to see it as an opportunity which you have to carry and see what good you can make out of it. To me, I saw like somebody, because there is a lot of pressure out there. Somebody cannot be effective without a way of releasing pressure out there. So I believe, and that's the role I played, I believe that I was there to ease the pressure and make sure that, communication and being aware of what is happening. Number two is that you also become the politician. I ended up, and for me it was a unique way of getting into it, in that going into politics, the first military man to go into national politics was something unheard of. And he went into it not by design. He was the community, the one who came to get him out of the military to go in to become their leader. And it was 3 months to elections. And here they are. The elders have gone up to see President Moi, the late president, and they have told him that we want him. This is the man we want to come and represent us. So what could I do? I had, at least I had skills of being able to address people, because that has been my life. My profession is teaching. And he didn't know how to campaign or how really to
interact with
people.
He knows orders.
Yes. So I had to take up the role. So even before he cleared with the military, because he was very careful not to, go out without dressing in his uniform because he had not been cleared, had to start calling meetings back at home in Kajiado and using the elders and the traditional institutions that were there to try to pass the message and prepare the ground. So I did that to start, and by the time he came, he was able to at least manage, but the ground was very, very warm for him because of the work he did all through for the community. This was somebody who, all through his life, he was always going out of his way to help people around him. So, and then after now, we became politicians. So we had to sort of had our plans that in development, this is where you can help me. And that is where you read that I took up the role of working with the women in Kajiado Central. Yeah.
How did you meet the general?
Okay, in those days, we were few of us who went to school, and I happened to have been in a primary school when he was in a secondary school just across the railway line in Kajiado town. Those were the only two schools because all the girls would go to AIC, the church primary school. We would all be brought from the villages to that school. And then there was only one, he had already gone to the secondary school. So we knew, everybody knew everyone. You knew who his name and where his family. But now, much later, as we progressed on with our professions, he had already joined the army, and he meets me somewhere in Nakuru. I think it was at the showground. And he said, "Oh, this is where you came." Okay. And that was it. Then the next, I was in college, and he traces where I am. And those days it was not going for coffee. It was saying, "Yeah, I'm going to marry you."
Next, home.
Home, that's what I'm saying. Let's go.
That was a good one.
Yes.
That's a way to, how else do you want to do it?
Get to the point.
Get to the point.
Yeah.
And let's move on.
Yes.
Now, at this point, you're getting married to a man who's in the military. Okay? He obviously is spending his days in military, whatever, in training, being posted from one area to the other. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
How did your two lives merge?
Those were tough years to begin with. After our wedding, I went to teach in Nakuru High School. He was training. He was the main trainer for the cadet students in Lanet. And his work involved a lot of going out, taking students for training, for mountain climbing, there's a lot out there. So most of the time I was alone. And I was just, I was issued with this big house. The military those days, they will issue with everything. They'll bring a full book of everything, even to for cleaning the floor, even a spoon. And
Paka duster.
You are issued everything. That was a colonial way of doing things. So you are issued, and you forget I'm a girl from the village. I didn't even understand some of these things, that there is a fish knife. But anyway, I later learned. I put everything in their cabinets, and they stayed for years until I later, But what was most trying was being left alone. And here I am, and I have written an incident of the 1982 coup, where I was all alone in that big house, and he had been away for 2 months, and I was expectant, and I'm just hearing people talking around, this is a military camp, so it's, it's a bit quiet because you don't hear much noise until a neighbor tells me that the military are the ones who are leading the country now. So I go out and say, now, where do I start? My parents are so far away in Kajiado. I'm all alone here. The husband who married me is nowhere to be found. I can't even access him on phone.
Right.
So I went to sit outside to see whether there'll be bombs dropped anywhere. I just said, let me just sit outside and see what happens. Until later, how he managed to get somebody who was a friend of ours, a family friend, to later come and check on me. So that is now much later in the afternoon. So that is when so it was really hard. It has been hard because particularly when you are a young officer, you are out most of the time. So, and it is not weeks, it is months. So you as a wife, you have to build a lot of resilience, a lot of sacrifice, and it makes you to believe in yourself that you can manage. Because many a times I handled most of family matters on my own because he was out there serving. Yeah.
Even as you, were by yourself, he was out here working. It's obviously something that he had endeared himself to. What were his thoughts about Kenya at that time? Did he have a passion for the country? Did he have a passion for leadership? Even if, you told us earlier that the people said, look, it's time for you to come and lead us. But was there something within him?
I think I saw that all through, in that he was always somebody who wanted to improve wherever he is. And he was very passionate, even in the military, very passionate about his job. And he wanted to make it better every time. And up to now, I still have a relationship. Some of his students whom he trained in those years, they come and check on me. Some of them have even contributed to writing in the book. So that was who he was. He was somebody who really wanted to build relationships, but also improve in every situation where he is. Yeah.
Why did the general choose a military career?
The story, there's a story in the book of his, which was given by his Standard 1 classmate. Interesting, until I interviewed him, that is when I learned maybe that was where the interest of joining the military started from. Way back in the early 60s, before independence, the primary school would be allowed to go to the town to see the brass band. But then Sami Risa, his Standard 1 classmate, says immediately we came back, General started picking the blackboard ruler, the long ruler, and always telling us, get into line and follow me, left, right. and that is when he started putting people in order to march. And he gained interest. He also wanted to, don't forget he was a Moran. Before he came to school, he had even tested, that traditional way of you are made to believe that the security of your community is on your hands. Yeah. So that sort of cemented, and that is when to me, I believe that is what started the interest. Yeah.
I want us to take a break and then we continue the conversation. This is the book we are discussing, The General and I, by Helen Nkaissery. It's a memoir. She's written it. It's the words of Helen herself about the life, the times, and the person that she knew to be Joseph Nkaissery, her husband. And you'll tell us about this photo. So you say he had his own ideas about his own book, his own autobiography. You had your idea about the story that you want to tell about your life with Joseph, and you picked this photo. You'll tell us about this photo and why you chose it, plus other stories as well. It's time for that Minute Maid break, where we come back, we'll talk more about it. Minute Maid, Helen, is the juice Minute Maid. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you have seen it in the supermarkets. You probably even bought it for your family, or you've gone somewhere. Your sons, your children have invited you. Mama, Ongo juice. You've taken the juice. Minute Maid, they say, if you are looking for the best way to rejuvenate yourself after, not just after a long day, but as you take a break from whatever else you're doing, Minute Maid is the way to go. Take Minute Maid. It gives you the flavor. It gives you the... Again, CT, that thing of yours is what?
Vitisho.
It gives you Vitisho.
Vitisho gives you Vitisho.
It's 29 minutes to 9. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
The baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy.
Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon.
Don't live life on repeat. Enjoy your break moments with Minute Maid Delight, a treat that awakens your senses and fills you with vitality. So fill those break moments with the indulgent sensations of Minute Maid, featuring delicious mango, tropical and apple flavors. Minute Maid.
Conditions in Nairobi at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 15 today, and we'll see lows of 12 in a sunny Nakuru at 16. 15 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 11, and we'll also see lows of 11 in Eldoret, where it is sunny at 14. Partly sunny conditions at 25 in Mombasa, and we'll see cloudy conditions through Malindi at 27. 21 is what it is in Kisumu, going to highs of 30, and Kakamega will see highs of 32 throughout a sunny Friday. It's mostly sunny at 23 in Kampala, highs of 29 and lows of 16, while it's cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 28 to go to highs of 32. Looking into Johannesburg, it's mostly sunny at 20, highs of 29 and lows of 17. It's mostly clear in Lagos this morning at 25, going to highs of 33. We'll see highs of 30 in Kinshasa, where it's cloudy at 23.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice
All
up
right,
your
so
life.
You're looking at traffic situation through most parts of the city. Still heavy looking at parts of Kiambu County coming into Nairobi. Westlands is also pretty busy as well. There's this whole mishmash of traffic on Kiambu Road. It's looking better on the thicker superhighway and into the CBDs where we see most of the action now. Northern, eastern, southern, those bypasses, use them. The service lanes also providing some reprieve on the thicker superhighway. And looking at Magadi Road, there's crazy traffic there this morning and it's still crazy. Not quite sure what caused that, but folks are trickling along then trying to spill over to Langata Road. So watch out for that. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
25 minutes to 9. The conversation continues with Ellen Kaiseri, The General and I, a memoir. That's what we're discussing. So this book is in several parts, and I'm going to just look at the various parts, the way you've broken down the book. Part 1, Falling, where you talk about your early years, his early years from Kapsabet to Motomo, making of an officer and all. And then part 2 is a double march, A Soldier's Wife, Hellos and Goodbyes, making a home in Mabarasha, growing through the ranks, a year abroad, staying in touch. Part 3 has one. Ero, attention. A Maasai and a Christian. Why is it only just that part 3 is so specific? A Maasai and a Christian.
I think I wanted to capture what he really stood for, in that he believed that he was first a Christian. He believed in the faith of Jesus Christ, but he was also a Maasai. And he saw he would complain a lot about people who sort of try to delink the two. And so, like, if you had to be a Christian, then you have to sort of completely abandon who you were and where your roots were. So, and that word "ero" is a word he used so much. And whenever he met anybody, a young person, in Maasai language, you to alert somebody "ero," it means you young man, somebody younger than him. So he used that to anybody, everywhere. "Ero, how are you? Ero, kuja hapa. Ero." That was him. Yeah. And to bring attention, be aware. So to me, I wanted the reader and particularly even his children to be aware that this is what he believed. You don't need to look at life from a perspective just of somebody else. Look at it from who you are and maybe try to bring the two together. Yeah.
Would you say that the distinction that the general wanted to ensure he lived out, why that? Was there perception that there was conflict between his ancestral culture and that of the Christian faith?
Oh yes, there was. Those of us, maybe, and you agree, when the coming of the first missionaries and Christians, as much as we may not blame them now because they didn't understand us, but we wish they did. They tried to interrogate to know who we were. In our community, when they came and they would tell us to completely get rid of what we are wearing, the way we are so proud of our beads, that you can only get to church once you remove all your beads and completely leave your culture, and start dressing like them. And it was very hard because, let me give you an example, one that was really brought up big conflict. In Maasai culture, once a woman removes all the beads, then it means she's mourning. So when somebody dies, a woman removes all the beads and anything that brings beauty on her. And then anyone would not need to ask what is happening. They'll know straight away somebody has died. But here we are, the missionaries have come and said, you remove. So how do you relate death to hope?
So because Christianity looked like a religion of mourning.
Like a death ritual.
And yet it was supposed to bring hope.
Yes.
So those are some of the things. Yeah.
I met the general twice, and he seemed to me to be extremely gentle. However, it was clear that he was uncompromising in his beliefs about certain things, or in the manner in which he wanted to do certain things, or the way in which he wanted things to be done. Did you also, in the experiences that you had, I mean, the country could see how he carried out himself.
When did you join the military?
Did you see, and I've lost my train of thought. Did you see that trait as you, lived with him experienced him.
Was he as
well.
uncompromising with you as he
appeared? As he appeared to be.
That is a very true observation. He was very uncompromising to things that would go against the what he believed was right, both out there and even at home. And but he's very gentle. Out there, I used to wonder when some people expressed that they feared him because of the posture he would try to. But to me, I knew hakuna kitu hapo. I don't know, I've not met a gentle person like him, maybe. He so gentle and you know, he would try to make sure, even if you find difficulty in taking up whatever he's trying to drive home, he will aid you, he will support you to be able to reach there. But he was also somebody very open to explain to you why he wants it this way, so that you are not, it's not just orders. He will explain to you that if we don't take it this way, then this will happen. Like, let me give you one example of the frustrations we used to go through now when he was a CS Interior. And you see, he had a lot of difficulty talking about military and security issues out there to everybody. And he believed that he had to safeguard them, because if I open too much, then I'm opening myself or the country to attack or to somebody to take advantage of that. But then many people didn't understand. So he would be quick, he would, behind the scenes, make you understand. If I say this, then somebody may pick this, and this is the implication. Yeah.
There was also something else that had huge implication, potential implication on how people viewed him. And you've written it on chapter 21, Uliza Mama Soila. Tell us about that.
Uliza Mama Soila, it is the way he's sort of handed all his other roles to me of managing the home. And that was his way, even when he was in the military, because he wanted to concentrate so much. He had this spirit of never divided loyalty. It's 100%. You go into something, 100%. When he was in the military, when he was a member of parliament, and when he was on CS. So any other duties of managing the home, making sure that the children settle in school,
wealth creation,
wealth creation, managing the farm, our family businesses, it was me. So wherever we were directors of our company, because of our family businesses, he would pick the checkbook and write from the first page to the last page, sign his signature, and now go ahead. It doesn't, how you do it, to him, that's not because he has handed over to me. So it became so much, and everybody now knew, even at home. And you see, this is a community where they believe that
patriarchal community.
These are your cows. Oh, it's the man's cows. So men would come, and he's a member of parliament, and they say, oh, we've seen you have young bulls. Can you give us some? He says, I don't know. Uliza Mama Soila. I don't know how many cows I have. I don't know where they are. I don't know who takes care of them, how much she pays. Uliza, And when somebody came and said he wanted a cow, he said, I have no cow. Everything belongs to Mama Soila. She's the one who manages it.
You say it in the book that at some point you thought, hey, wait, you are becoming too much. This could be used against you politically. I mean, culturally, people would go and say, huyu mzee, kila kitu ni mama, tuchague mama basi. Did you actually feel that?
I did, and I would feel shy because you see, he was a very open person. So we go for a rally, and before he starts speaking, he says, and before I speak, I want to invite Mama Soila to talk. I feel so uncomfortable, because he's supposed to be the one to take, to be, is the MP. But he did that, and he said, and she's the one who manages the home and the cows, and oh my goodness. Then, so I have to stand there and I say, but by the way, I cannot give out any cow without him knowing, and the cows belong to him, else you believe they belong to me.
Yeah. Don't you think you could have been paving the way for showing what women empowerment could actually look like?
That is very true. He believed in women empowerment so much. And he wanted to change the notion that was in our community. So he would, people in Kajiado, he would take time to praise me and talk about what I've been able to do, what I'm doing, what I'm planning, until I tell you're exposing me too much. But he didn't stop there. This is a community that believed that women should always be on the background. He started by making them to be on the forefront and making them chiefs. So the first woman chief, he told me, go and get a name of a lady whom you think I can talk to the ministry, and she has the qualifications to see whether she can be made to be a chief. And he followed it, and the lady was made to be an assistant chief. The community gathered, called meetings to come and denounce him. And he went and told them, go ahead, denounce me and don't give me your votes, because this one is just a start point. From this time, I'll be making sure that there is always a woman who is in every leadership role. And by the time he passed on, in Kajiado Central, I think we had 8 of them who were chiefs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about now his life as a CS, and also let's mix that with his health. He was a straight walking man, a military man, proper. Whenever you see him, you just know this, the general. You say in the book that he was very fit, always very, very keen and disciplined on exercise. How was his health like throughout the life that you know him?
He had excellent, good health. This is somebody who never took medicine. He was never admitted in hospital. In fact, I wrote that the only time I remember him taking to a dispensary in Lanet is one time when his friend banged the door for the military Land Rover on his finger, and it made a...
So the nail came out?
Yes, the nail came out. And that was the only time I remember taking him, going with him to the dispensary. All through, he believed that he believed he was fit, he was healthy, and he was, because he was quite okay. He had this belief that to heal any disease, you just need to exercise. Because to him, exercise was medicine for everything. So you'd come home, oh, Daddy, the children said, Daddy, I have a headache. Oh, you have a headache, go and exercise.
5 press-ups.
Yeah. And he did that every day of his life. He never missed his exercises. And he didn't need to use machines. He had planned his own exercise routine, which just occupied a small part of the bedroom. And that is what he did every day. It didn't matter what time he's starting his day. If his meetings are starting at 6, he has to wake up at 4, exercise, then leave at 5. If his meetings are starting, it didn't matter. He made sure. I would travel. One day we traveled and we were on the plane, and by the time we were arriving, it was 18 hours. We've been traveling. And here I am, I'm struggling to look for, in a hotel, running to sleep. Him is looking for where to exercise.
Wow.
That is who he was.
Man was a military man for many years.
For many years.
He was a trained marksman as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Him and guns. Sio kitu kubwa. Like you're saying, climbing hills and taking people and, explosions left, right and center. But then there was the needle.
Yes. He took people to climb mountains. He made sure his children, all of them, climbed those mountains because he saw it as fun and he took them to climb. And he did all that. But there is only so much that you can put to a human body. So in the last few months, I just started seeing that he was a bit restless. He was restless and the work was so much. There was so much work. And he would come home maybe around midnight. And you find he's worked in the office for so many hours. Meetings back and forth. And sleep started becoming a bit very restless. And I even tried to book him to go for a medical checkup. But he was stubborn, very stubborn. He agreed at one time, then the next day he said, no, you go. You go yourself, me, I'm okay. And he refused. And so I started seeing a bit of restlessness and until one day I had gone downstairs to prepare breakfast for him, and I came back. I thought he had finished his exercise, and I found him standing, supporting himself, and he was in a lot of pain. So I asked what had happened. He said, I don't know, I just had this pain, which was so much on the left-hand side of this side. And then he quickly, I think I just did the press-ups too hard, so I need to relax. So I tried to massage, to see whether the muscle, would relax. And within that, I said, no, I'm better. I'm going to work. And I was trying to tell him, okay, can we just go and see the doctor? He says, no, I'm fine. I have done a little relaxation exercise to relax, and I'm fine. So then from there, I started seeing just build up of restless, acidity, and to me, I have no reason to believe otherwise, but I believe in what I saw, that this was a build-up to weakness in his heart. Yeah.
What happened on that final day?
It was a day that you'll never believe the way God can just prepare you of something that is coming. I was out there campaigning because even though he wasn't an MP already, my skills of campaign were noticed, and therefore the government had asked me to continue helping in campaigning within Kajiado. So I was out the whole day, and I had women whom I had carried from Kajiado. We were campaigning at Kona Baridi, and I finished the meetings, and I was supposed to go back to Bisil to take the women, but I just felt I was not able to, and therefore I called for a vehicle to come and pick me so that I release my car to take the women back to Kajiado, the ones I had come with. And I come home and I call him that I'm back home. He said, oh, I thought we agreed that you stay in Bisil because I'm coming tomorrow. I said, no, I've come. So he finishes, he says he's meeting somebody on his way, then he comes home. So before 9, he was home. And he was in a very, very jolly mood. We sat, by that time, we were at that stage where it's just the two of us in the house, and maybe a house help and who had already left. So we sat and we were happy. As you know, he was a very jolly, very, very jolly person. And he always wanted to liven everybody's, mood. So we sat and about 10:30, I said, I'm going to take a shower. Then he find me in bed. Says he's watching because he loved the BBC, VOA, those are the news he loved following a lot. So he'll say he will watch a bit of BBC and then he will come. So he finds me in bed and he's still okay, very happy, but he seemed a bit tired. So he got into bed, and after about an hour, I felt him stepping out of bed, and then I just heard him bang the dressing table on the other side. And so I said, "What are you doing?" I woke up, and he held himself until he went down to the floor. He didn't hit the floor, but he held and just lied down. I was so confused because I didn't know what had really happened. So what is it? So the only help I could get were the APs, askaris who were around in the compound. So I quickly went and called them, and to them, they were confused. They didn't know what had happened. And so I told them, "No, you have to come to my room. Mzee has fallen down and I don't know what is happening." So we carried him, we put in the car and took him to Karen Hospital, which is very close. We couldn't believe it. Yeah, but that is it.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's how he went. It's a good story that you've told us, from the very beginning up to this point, in everything that you've known about the man. Looking back at General Joseph Kaiseri and looking now, talking to either young people. I mean, you're a teacher, you're a community leader, you're a national leader as well in the position that you hold with the Ushanga Initiative. What would you tell? What characteristic of Kaiseri the man would you say, I wish we all got a bit of this?
Okay, devotion to his work. As much as I would be cautious to tell somebody now, don't, take your body to extremes in work, but blend time for devoting your time to work and also devoting for your relaxation. But I would wish everybody would take that bit of patriotism. I would also wish that people would take the love for family, because this is somebody who really loved family. And I would wish that leaders would know that you don't just wake up and become a leader. You first of all have to build the skills of leadership. Show yourself. Whom do you want to lead? Have you interacted with the people you want to lead before you come and say, give me this position? And again, more important, standing out and holding, firm to what you believe in. Your faith, your work, your ability, and never shying to take up responsibility.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Helen, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And we, of course, will be sharing this book, The General and I, Helen Pilalen Kaiseri, a memoir. It's out. It's a story by Helen Kaiseri of the man that she knew as Joseph Kaiseri. We all knew him as Major General Joseph Kaiseri, Generali Mtua Wajeshi. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, we talk about Kenyans in the diaspora and what the government is doing to engage more with them. The PS for Diaspora Affairs joins us next. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning. NAT Secretary General Colin Soyu has supported the government's plan aimed at achieving CBC, especially for students who will join junior secondary school to have uniforms that are different from those in primary schools. Oyu says these will help differentiate them from those in primary schools. Speaking in Kakamega County, Oyu also praised the government for addressing several issues when it comes to implementing the CBC.
Nobody knew where this country was headed to in line with education. I want to thank the chair of the Presidential Working Party, alongside the initiator who is the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, for what we are seeing now. JSS is domiciled in primary schools. We had a very good argument as Kenya National Union of Teachers. We conducted a fully blown research, and this research revealed that the best place to place these learners was in primary schools.
He also praised the government's efforts to hire more than 30,000 teachers, saying this number would make it easier to achieve CBC.
Teacher Service Commission is going to employ interns and permanent and pensionable teachers employed to the tune of 30,500. That is a very big step forward in managing the teacher shortage in this country. When we talk of teachers trained to handle junior secondary, I want to tell you we have our teachers who are qualified to proceed and handle junior secondary.
Meanwhile, the Education Ministry will be releasing the 2022 KCSE results today. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu will be leading the exercise. We are focusing and following up on this developing story. We will be bringing you the very latest in a subsequent news bulletin. Now, Egerton University Vice Chancellor Professor Isaac Kibwage says that owing to the government supporting all students entering university, public universities have failed and are facing the challenge as their revenues cannot match the cost of programs. He decried the impact of dwindling fortunes from the parallel programs which used to sustain the university. Kibwage says the institution may be forced to declare redundancies in its efforts to increase its wage bill. And lawyers are today expected to stage peaceful protests across its 8 branches countrywide to petition the Ministry of Lands to expedite the implementation of recommendations that are meant to improve service delivery. A statement by the LSK Chief Executive Officer Florence Muturi stated that the recommendations were arrived at after a series of meetings between the lawyers' umbrella body, the Ministry of Lands and the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya failed to yield any results. Lands PS Nixon Korir says that the Ministry of Lands is keen in reducing the backlog of land transactions in the next 2 months. The PS also stated that the crisis at the Nairobi registry will be resolved in the next 6 months, a period within which it hopes to finalize the digitization process. LSK is recommending the adoption of a hybrid system until the ministry addresses all the emerging challenges. And President William Ruto has called on the provincial administration in central Kenya region to work out a plan to end alcohol abuse in the region. The head of state said the substance abuse among the youth is worrying and asked the county governments to join the national government in the fight. The president expressed his concerns over the rising cases of alcohol abuse among the youth. The high rate of drug abuse menace in the central Kenya region has been blamed on unregulated alcohol selling joints. And Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has said that the government is determined to fight impunity, greed and corruption, which he identified as one of the major ills currently afflicting the country. Mudavadi says these vices had for long stagnated the country's development and that it was now time to confront them head on. Mudavadi has revealed that the plans being put in place within the operations of government are a sign of how determined the president's administration is working round the clock to ensure that all loopholes are sealed and no room is left for these vices to thrive. Mudavadi further noted that the current administration is determined than ever before to ensure that all state officers lead by example and walk the talk by becoming the ambassadors of change through doing what is right when serving in whatever capacity. And Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome has undertaken to ensure efficient provision of rural and small town water services in the Gusii region. Speaking during a meeting with leaders from Nyamira and Kisii County, the Cabinet Secretary indicated that the ministry is set to commence rehabilitation of boreholes in the region. In the meeting, called to discuss pertinent issues aimed at improving provision of water to the people of the 2 counties in line with the vision and resolutions of the national government. The CS further disclosed that the locals will be trained on maintenance of water sources amid rapid urbanization. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Looking much better coming off a thicker superhighway. That doesn't look too crazy right about now. We've seen the Southern Bypass was helping folks who are trying to get into the city and out without too much drama. What's coming out of Westlands? Well, some traffic. Ring Road Westlands a little bit as it's trying to end. You're touching on Wangari Maathai Way. Also coming off the thicker superhighway via the underpass. It still continues to be pretty heavy on Kiambu Road, and we're looking at Limuru Road, busy coming off of Gigiri, so that continues for some time. Thicker superhighway much better now, though. All right, let's keep an eye on things. Let's see what happens in about half hour. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 9 on the 20th of 2023. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the fourth and final hour this week. Ndu.
Yes.
Friday coming, going.
Yes.
Saturday coming, going. Sunday
coming.
8 p.m. We watch
The Last
Door on
John
Maisha Magic Plus.
Alan Namu takes a look into various cases and asks the question about which door these folks walked through on their last day. Maisha Magic Plus 168 on DSTV and GoTV Channel 8. The third episode of The Last Door airs on this coming Sunday.
Indeed.
And looking at that series and what it opens up to be.
And if you upgrade your DSTV and GoTV packages today, so you can get Maisha Magic Plus, you'll actually get it on us for free. That is Sunday. Monday comes. Schools open. School fees is required. And you still have a chance to win some school fees.
Yes, you
Step
do.
up and shine.
Step up and shine with Kiwi. So you walk into any supermarket today, buy a tin of the Kiwi black shoe polish, and then you will send a code to *459 *5#, and you have an opportunity to get bundles or airtime immediately, and thereafter enter a draw that could see you get $35,000 towards school fees. Needed, wouldn't you say? Step up and shine with Kiwi.
It's always important. We have a new guest in the studio, the Principal Secretary in the newly created State Department for Diaspora Affairs, Roslyn Njogu, is here with us in the studio. How we welcome our guests is one way. We give them the day's proverb.
We do. Our proverbs for the whole of this week have been from the country of Mozambique, known in Kiswahili as Msumbiji. Yes. This is an interesting proverb, and we'd like to know your thoughts on it. A parasite cannot live alone.
A parasite cannot live alone.
Yes.
Well, yes. I mean, it does need to live on a host or in a host. Is that I think in high school we call it maana ya juu na maana ya ndani.
Maana ya ndani. So maana ya juu you've given us.
I think so.
Now give us maana ya ndani.
Let me reflect on it. It probably means something along the lines of even, I don't know, a parasite cannot live alone. Yeah, I guess either A, security numbers, it lives with others, or it lives on something or somebody. I don't know. What does it mean?
City, what does it mean?
You know,
I mean, when you looked at that proverb and you decided, okay, let me go with this one.
Actually, you're right, because, you know, I had something like around 87 proverbs to choose from. But the reason why I like this one, first of all, was its simplicity. Stating something that, even as we see on the face of it, is obvious. A parasite, by and large, often needs, in many cases, a living organism to survive. Okay? and we're the host. And many times when you hear the word parasite, you think of the negativity, disease causing. They don't all cause diseases, by the way. Okay? Now, when you look, that's why I called it, this is a community statement. It's how we live with each other and how some of us don't really seem to do much visibly, but they're always feeding off other people.
Are there parasites that live inside other parasites?
Yes, I believe they are.
They are.
I believe they are. But if we now bring it now to the level to the level playing field of human beings, there are human beings who we say are parasitic in nature. And when we are really fed up with them, we'll call them parasites, because you can't visibly see what this person does to add value, but they always seem to be thriving, and you're wondering, where on earth does this person... Now, it's within that context. Yes.
So do you think the Mozambicans are actually saying, stop focusing on the parasite, focus on the enabler? Without the host, the parasite wouldn't live.
You know, I would venture to think in that direction. And if I were to get political, I would say, every time I hear politicians here, not civil servants, complaining about how, the voter wants this and the voter wants the other. Now, in that relationship, who really is the parasite? Is it the voter who constantly wants a handout, or is it the politician who has gotten this person used to receiving handouts? Who is the parasite? Who benefits more from the other?
Feeding off who?
Yes, exactly. So, that is the perspective that I would lend to the conversation.
Okay. What are those relationships called? Symbiotic?
When it's symbiotic, it's not parasitic. Parasitic often means someone is benefiting more.
One is eating.
Yes, one is eating. Symbiotic, you're benefiting.
It's a balance.
Yes.
Okay. Rosalind, welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And congratulations for being the first PS for Diaspora Affairs.
Thank you.
In the history of the Republic of Kenya.
It's an honor, truly, and the responsibility is heavy, and I feel it on my shoulders.
Already.
It's truly an exciting opportunity, an exciting time to be doing this work.
Okay. Let's do a bit of a background.
Sure.
Who's Rosalind, and what motivated you to apply for a job of Principal Secretary?
Very well. So I am a lawyer by profession. I have been a practicing lawyer and an academic. So I have spent the last 15 years of my career working as a lawyer, as an academic, teaching at the universities. I do a lot of women's rights work. I have been researching and writing and publishing on this area. I am currently working on a PhD. Not so much since I got sworn in, but I'm still working on it. I think the president got his PhD while he was deputy president, so it probably can be done. Yes, so that is largely who I am as far as my career is concerned. I have been teaching. I'm an academic, as I said. I worked in development consulting for a little bit. And yes, I'm a lawyer. I am now a public servant.
The Public Service Commission announces vacancies for position of Principal Secretary.
Yeah.
They received 8,000 odd applicants.
9,000 and something.
One of them was you.
Yes.
Why did you apply for the job?
So that's a really good question. In the work that I have done up to this point at my firm, Lexlink Consulting, and in the academy, a lot of that work has been a lot about linking society to the law. So trying as much as possible to bring the law to people, to figure out how does the fact that we have a new bill in Parliament, what does that mean for the person on the ground, and can they even engage with that conversation? So I've done some work in public participation. I have, over the years, just tried to get the law to speak to the people and get the people to speak to the law in very sort of real ways. Now, You when you do this kind of work, when you do rights work and you do it from the outside, you can only do so much. And there is a sense of, I can do all the activism, I can write the papers, I can publish them, I can even consult for government. But ultimately, I don't get to make the decision about what happens with that. For example, early last year, I helped review the national policy on gender-based violence. And, you do all of this work and you're excited, you can see all the difference you can make, but ultimately somebody else gets to decide whether this policy is going to be passed and whether it's going to be implemented. So this was an opportunity to actually do what I have been saying. Be the change that you seek. Right. Have the mandate to actually make the difference that I have wanted to see for a long time. So I said, why not?
You must have had a preferred ministry or State Department when you're sitting there and applying and thinking, this is what I'd like to do, and this is where I'd like to. Was this it?
So, first of all, remember, diaspora affairs was not in previous government. So this was not a State Department that one thought about, right? And one of the things I tell you as you prepare for your interviews is if the PSC asks you which State Department do you want to work for, don't pick one. Pretty much say it depends, because ultimately it's the appointing authority, in this case the president, who decides, I think she's best suited for this, I think he's best suited for this, and so on. So, of course, being a lawyer and having done the kind of work I have done, I had my ideas about where I thought I could make the most difference. But then, as fate would have it, the president asked me to serve in diaspora affairs, and as I have thought about it, I have felt that there couldn't have been a better fit for me and probably for the State Department. It is exciting. It is new. I am fresh into public service. And so it sort of comes together. I'm able to, I have lived in the diaspora for a little bit. So it was very, I think it's very well, it's a great fit.
It's a match made in heaven.
It's one of these situations where you would caution people that be careful what you wish for.
For this particular position, I think we're still early in the game for me to have become a little jaded yet. I'm very excited about the position. The opportunity is great, and I'm from chatting with a friend of mine who's asking me how you're doing. It's been about 6 weeks since you got the job, and I told her, I am having the time of my life. It is an exciting job. The opportunity is great. I'm loving it.
You know why I ask? When you've been involved in policy formulation, you've been involved in policy reviews, and as you say, you wish you were in a position, essentially, to see these things done. Now, actually, when you are involved in that process, you actually do determine what gets done. You may not think so, but you do.
Yes.
Because the decision, yes, you may not be the final authority that's making the decision, but in the absence of your input, whether it runs interference or whether it augments whatever is going to be done, you have had a say. But you see, now this one, at some level, the buck is going to stop with you.
Yes.
Now, that is not necessarily scary. Now, it's not scary for you because from just a little you've said, you're somebody who has always taken an interest in having ideas about things. And I'm sure when you were told, when His Excellency said, sister, hii docket ya diaspora ni yako. I am sure the activity that started in your head is still ongoing.
Yes.
Now, we will want you to unpack those things for us and tell us this is what when you are told, first of all, once the euphoria died down, okay, and you realized, you walk, but then you go to a principal secretary's office, it's daunting. It's not just a simple room. The chair's over there.
You walk into a hallway.
It's a bit of that, right? A bit of that. There is sort of the structural things that you're talking about, right? So life changes in the sense that within a I've lived a fairly simple life. I'm an academic. Students walk up to me, and it's been a fair. Plus, I've been a lawyer, though in legal professions a little bit of hierarchy. It's not so much. But then suddenly you are in civil service, in public service, and people stop calling you by your name. Right, everybody calls me Madam PS. It is very unsettling, right? Everybody calls me Madam PS. Everybody in a meeting says, they speak and they look towards you and they address you, and everybody else is listening. It's very unsettling. And on the day that you begin the job, government car arrives, and and security, and so there's a lot that changes structurally, and you have so basically even access to you sort of changes, because as you're saying, you have an office out there. In there, and then you have security and secretaries and so on. You become
state property, essentially.
You do. And so, and the state has an interest in sort of securing you and knowing everything that you... So there is that. But all of that infrastructure sort of comes to support the work that you're attempting to do. And as you said, the buck stops with you.
Yes.
So right now, our numbers say we have about anything between 3 to 4 million Kenyans abroad.
3 to 4.
3 to 4 million.
And the number is
truthfully, the number is growing. And truthfully, that's what we believe are the adults, the adult Kenyans who are abroad. Now, if you went and you moved to Europe, and then you got married and had children, if you didn't register those children with us as far as when you do a registration of a Kenyan citizen born abroad, then we might not have those numbers.
Yep.
So our diaspora numbers might be much larger. But now the responsibility of knowing that every Kenyan who's living abroad is actually my responsibility, then that is heavy for the shoulders, right? So and there are many, many things to think about. So not just their safety or their security, but also their wellness, and are they thriving? And so it's a position that's a little different probably from PS of roads or PS of agriculture, whatever, because it comes to the level of representation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When we first went to the US for when the president was having the US-Africa summit to meet President Biden and have a number of side meetings in December, I arrived at the hotel and I found a delegation waiting for me of diasporans, and it was a bit unsettling because I am not a politician, but I found myself being received like an MP. Delegations that come in from Seattle, from Maryland, from different places, and wanted to see me because
that's why they're concerned. You are their person.
So that is it. So I am not just their a PS in the sense of an implementing authority or an accounting officer for a particular State Department. They see me as their representative because in many ways they don't actually have a vote as far as at the constituency or the county level is concerned.
Sure. Yeah. I think that gives rise then to this job, and then what then the elements of this position and this department then are actually supposed to do. So now with the creation of this department, it doesn't take away the fact that folks have been waiting for a very long time for some kind of institutionalism of this particular office. So when you talk about being unsettling, I hear you. In terms of how life changes, but then also unsettling because of the huge responsibility then that is waiting for you because people are, and it's interesting that you talked about then being responsible for Kenyans' welfare abroad. Not really thought about that in as much as we've been thinking about the things that have been happening in the Gulf. We've been thinking about, having these conversations about, can we regularize this thing so that people can stop coming back to Kenya in boxes? On the other side also, the stories that we've seen in the news and what we know to be the case, that Kenyans are also responsible for a good chunk of change that comes back into the country, and they're looking for that representation, leads way then to this conversation of what then, Rose, will your office do?
Right. So that's a really good question. And the upside of having a State Department created is that when, the president does that through an executive order, in this case, he's very clear about what the mandate of the State Department is. So I'm not shooting in the dark. It's a 6-point mandate, right? And the first point is the State Department is supposed to promote continuous dialogue with the diaspora. In other words, having conversations like this, where the diaspora is listening in and will, send back comments and tweet and engage us. That's a big part of the job. So I am on the clock. But secondly, it's mainstreaming diaspora's involvement in national development processes. And that's many things. Right, so it's their political participation. How do we get increasingly to have the diaspora voting within the law? There was a lot of hue and cry about the last election and how little we were able to get them to vote. And there is a decision of the court that says we must, progressively include the diaspora within giving them an ability and legal rights to vote.
Yep.
So a big part of the national development process is political participation. How can we get them voting? Can we, at this point, begin to have conversations about changing the law that allows them to have digital voting, for example? Can we have mail-in ballots and that kind of thing? So these are some of the things the State Department has to pursue. But other elements of national development processes are we are right now working through our budgeting cycle, right? We have public hearings. We had one, last week at KICC. How do we get the diaspora to engage on what the budget process looks like? Law reform. This is something that's close to my heart. When we have bills in Parliament and the different, even at the county assemblies, do they know what bills are there and how can they participate? How can they send in their memorandum? And other parts of national development process could be things along the lines of, if we have, right now we have the big tree planting campaign. How are we involving the diaspora in that? Are they greening up? Can we get them to green up a part of Makueni, for example? So that's just, that's literally one vertical in the mandates. So there's a dialogue, there's a national development process. Thank you so much. And then there is a third element, you spoke about it, is welfare. So the State Department is supposed to champion the rights and welfare of diasporans. And for me, this is the most important part of our mandate. If we can secure people's rights and welfare wherever they are, then all the other mandates build on that one, right? So if Kenyans can have services delivered to them, and that's passports, IDs, government paper, if it can get delivered to them in ways that are fast, in ways that are efficient, in ways that are cost effective, then we are beginning to make a difference, okay? So it's, and I think I need to say that because we take a lot of flack from the diaspora on this particular issue, that our missions don't actually issue passports, they don't issue IDs. We facilitate another part of government.
Send to Kenya, Kenya sends back.
Yes, and that's, a completely different ministry and so on, but we work with them. And also, government tries to deliver as one. So we take the flag for our, siblings. But, so rights and welfare is also things like, so before 2010, we didn't have a provision for dual citizenship. So a lot of Kenyans who took up citizenship in other countries lost their Kenyan citizenship. Now they're going through the process of regaining, their citizenship, because by our constitution, you can never lose your citizenship by birth. So there's a process of regaining. So how do we go about supporting that? How do you go about? So there's a lot of things under rights and welfare, but also it's the conversations you're having about migrant workers. How do you support migrant workers? How do we make sure that Kenyans who are abroad are not being victimized, are being cared for, are thriving, and so on? So those three are the first part of the mandate. The second part of the mandate is a little more economic and commercial, and that sort of builds on the base of welfare. And then I talked about engagement, which is the dialogue and the national development process. The others are, how do we get you to invest and save more? Right? How do we support Kenyans to do that? Now we have a number of diaspora circles that are setting up. We have some issues that we are fixing, but Kenyans are, putting their savings in circles and doing big projects in Kenya. Right? So that's so how do we get you to save? How do we have conversations about bonds, infrastructure bonds are a little more friendly to the diaspora. We're talking now about dollar-denominated bonds, for example, or we're talking about diaspora bonds and things like that. So how do we fix that? A big part of investment is going, of course, to be setting up a diaspora investment office. Then that helps diasporians with all of the questions that they have. You probably know the story of someone who wants to invest and has sent money home, and the money has disappeared. Or I want to build a house, and they have sent money home to a brother, and they get regular photos of the neighbors, mjengo that's coming up.
Of a real house, but it's not yours.
Exactly, right?
So they're building their own house, but not building the house that you sent money for.
To build. Exactly. So there is that. How do we then help with that sort of clearing? Some Kenyans have been abroad so long. that when you tell them you can do all of these transactions on, an easy, they do not believe it. They're like, absolutely not, right? And so international jobs, which links back to the migrant labor conversation. Our unemployment rate is something like 34% in Kenya. It is unbelievably and unacceptably high. That means for every 10 Kenyans who are old enough and willing and able to work, 3.5, well, guess 4 are out of a job. Right. So how do we help Kenyans get good, safe jobs? And this is something that my office is pursuing very seriously, trying to get Kenyans in good, safe jobs abroad. And then the last one, which is probably the one people hear about first, is remittances. And that sort of is a natural sort of progression from all of these other things. If you're able to do the welfare, the support, the engagement, and so on, then people almost naturally, I'm told people say inajileta too. That one just, it just
flows.
Happens. It just flows. Let's take a break. So that's the mandate.
We take a break on that note. A Minute Maid break. Tell her about the Minute Maid City.
Well, water is refreshing, undoubtedly. Extremely refreshing. But imagine taking a sip of some liquid that not only has a taste, but has a tingle to the taste. Plays with your taste buds, speaks to your taste buds, communicates effectively, tells your taste buds, be happy. That's Minute Maid.
It's like your mouth having a party.
Yes. You have said it.
That's it. 29 minutes to 10. Rosalind Jogu is the Principal Secretary at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. We are talking about how the government is planning to engage better and more effectively with Kenyans living abroad. Time for that break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's time to step up and shine. Get instant airtime or data with every purchase of specifically marked tin of black kiwi polish. What do you need to do? Walk to your nearest store, buy a tin of kiwi black shoe polish, and once opened, find a unique code under the lid. Dial *459 *5# and send the code to stand a chance to win 35,000 Kenya shilling school fees every week, courtesy of Kiwi. Step up and shine with Kiwi. Terms and conditions apply.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Hiya, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. I mean, I don't answer. What are they saying?
How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Said yes. My name is I believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of the
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi at 22, we'll see highs of 27 through Friday. Highs of 29 in a sunny Nakuru, and maybe highs of 27 in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 16. 17 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 26, and lows of 11 and 29, and cloudy in Mombasa, going to highs of 32. We'll see highs of 32 as well in Malindi, where it's cloudy at 28. 25 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 32 in Kakamega. 23 and mostly sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam, where it's cloudy at 29. 22 and sunny in Johannesburg, we'll see highs of 29 and highs of 33. In a hazy Lagos now at 25, it's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23. -1 is what we're looking at in Beijing. That'll be today's high, coming down to lows of -11. It's cloudy at 0 in Paris, 6 will be the high, and we'll see lows of 0 in a mostly cloudy London, currently at 1. New York Thursday night is cloudy at 5, coming into Friday. We'll see highs of 9 and lows of 2.
spice up your
We
life.
shouldn't have too much of an issue with traffic going through this hour. It's just that little left on the Thika Superhighway coming out through the Pangani underpass, and Jogo Road here and there is going to do the normal thing, but then you should be fine going through most parts of the morning. It's also looking a little bit better on Kiambu Road. You'll be able to get out to Muthaiga Square in a short while, and Limu Road also much better than it was about an hour ago. Traffic hour essentially should be over by now. Through the morning, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
For affairs, you've told us the mandate of your State Department. There are 6 areas that you need to focus on. One that you've talked about is that of Kenyans feeling their government serving them wherever they are. Okay, so many of them will complain about that. So my passport has expired. I just want to renew my passport. Oh my goodness. I have got to find out the nearest consulate or embassy, and then it's going to take another long process, or very many other services.
Yeah.
But primarily, what are the main services that Kenyans seek from their government when they're out there?
Oh, that's a good question. And it's many different things, and we see that varying across the regions. So if you look at the reports, for example, from our different missions, you will find in some places, a lot of what we want from government is emergency travel papers, right? And I think it's important that people know that even if you happen to be, you lose your passport or you lose your documentation or you have the old generation passport, even if it's expired and you need to go home, we make it happen, right? So if you head over to your embassy or consulate, we process emergency travel documents and fairly quickly, right? So we have had processed them sometimes within a few hours or, a day or so, and you're able to travel. So some of our missions will have a lot of emergency travel. A lot of them will be, expired passports for people who live abroad, for long periods. So I want to renew my passport. We have a few IDs being, processed. We have, labor issues, because, at our missions, we have labor attaches, we have all different kinds of attaches. So in places where we have a lot of migrant workers, for example, a lot of our work will be heavily labor related. So can you help me negotiate with my employer? They don't want to pay me. Can you help me get my final dues or my final benefits out from my employer, and so on? So we have those, particularly in the Middle East. Labor attaches are fairly busy. In other places, so it will be different things. So it will be, as I said, a lot of documentation. Sometimes people want sanctuary, because something has gone wrong and they need to run home, and that kind of thing. So in places where we have, one consulate or one embassy in large swaths of land, then that becomes very difficult for us to get services to people. Australia, for example, or Canada, or the US, right? So, Kenya, lots of Kenyans, and spread out, across a very large, really continent, with 1 or 2 offices to serve them. So that has been a big problem for us, and we haven't been able to get services to Kenyans, but we have plans. One of the things that we are doing, and we'll be launching this later today, is we are trying to find where, we're trying to establish what particular services you're looking for, and then we're bringing them to you in a mobile fashion. So we basically get a mobile unit that does IDs, that does passports, and go around. We'll start with the US, and then Canada, and then Australia. All right. So a little bit later today, I'll be putting out a link where people can do that registration. Again, we're trying to plan our resources.
So what you're doing now with the link is you're collecting the information.
Yes, so that we know.
It's like a form.
Yes, it's a form. Basically, just let us know. In Texas, we need 200 people need IDs. In Vancouver, so many need passports and that kind of. So we're able to plan our resources. But that's just a stopgap measure. What we are really working towards is Kenyans, wherever they live, within their state, to be able to walk to a center where they can have their biometrics taken. And then that stuff is sent over, so in the US to DC, and then collected, sent to Nairobi, passports done, brought back to you. So Kenyans will not have to fly from Seattle with the entire family to DC to get their their biometrics done, and then back, and then wait, and so on. So we are trying as much as possible to bring huduma mashinani wherever you are. And that's something, the President is very keen on, and has specifically required that I make sure that is done. So, and presidential directives have to be complied with military precision. Wow. So that's one of the things that we are looking to do. But within Africa, for example, our South Africa office has a mobile unit. And so South Africa has been able to serve out of Pretoria, Botswana, Lesotho, and the region, just by taking around the services and so on. So those are some of the things that we are trying to do. We've also, until I think about 2 weeks ago, to set up an eCitizen account, you needed to have a +254 number. Mm-hmm. So now we've worked with the eCitizen team, and now you can set up your account just using your email address. Okay. So Kenyans who don't have a Kenyan number now can access eCitizen, and government is continuing to go digital. Okay. So if you don't have can you imagine if you don't have an eCitizen account, there's a lot you can't do. Yes. So that's one of the things that we are doing as far as bringing services to people. And we are increasingly, this is what I wake up to do every morning, to think about how do we make people's lives easier? How do we make the diaspora's life easier? How do we make people access these services faster, in a more efficient, in a more cost-effective way?
Mm-hmm. Do we know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we have the numbers? Do we know where all our citizens who are abroad are?
We don't.
Okay.
But we are working on it. Bas. We are working on it.
So part of this form is that as well?
No, so not necessarily, because you see that only captures those people who are looking for services now. If I have a new passport, I don't need to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's sort of a piecemeal thing. No, we have so far relied on voluntary registration, but our voluntary registration has been cumbersome, right? So because different missions collect data in different ways. Mm-hmm. So we say, as soon as you get to
go and register at the High Commission.
Yes, register. Do you know, if you open do you have your passport, your Kenyan passport? If you open your passport on page 3, it tells you when you're abroad, as soon as you get there, register with the Kenyan High Commission or embassy. Okay? It says that. If it's not available, find a High Commission or embassy of an East African country. If it is not available, then, with a UK High Commission in our country. I can see that none of you have ever done that. Truthfully, I also, have not done it when I have been away. But
is it when you want to live abroad, or is it when you're visiting?
It's when you land.
When you land in that country.
When you just land.
Let the embassy know.
But we're going to make it much easier for you to do that. We're going to make it much easier for you to. And this, let me tell you why this is really important. So far, we've had voluntary registrations, and people, it's been cumbersome. We haven't made it easy. We tell you, write an email, and then sometimes we don't even acknowledge it. The mission receives the email. At least we know, 20 Kenyans have arrived in Germany as students or something like that. We have some of these figures. But we want to know that Latif has arrived in Namibia. He's staying at such and such a place. And do you know why? When we have had crises, we have rescued Kenyans. And I do not think Kenyans know this. Because government does a lot of good work, but government does not talk about it. So we are like parents. We pay school fees. Do we shout about it? You're expected to pay school fees. You don't shout about it. This is your responsibility. When COVID broke, for example, we evacuated thousands of Kenyans. We never talked about it. In fact, if you check media coverage on that, Kenyans are not being evacuated. Other people are being evacuated. The Kenyan government does not care. Blah, 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 blah. We were evacuating people, or the government was evacuating people, right? When the war in Ukraine broke, we evacuated students. We have been in the evacuation business for as long as we've been a country.
But for that, you need the information.
Last week, I was evacuating people, right? for different reasons, right? So you have Kenyans who are stuck. We've had some serious problems where Kenyans are kidnapped, and we have had to get them out of bad situations or have, to stage rescues, things that we will never tell you about. But that Kenyans need to know, I think this is important, that Kenyans need to know we actually care that you are in trouble. You are our responsibility. The fundamental point of the social contract is exactly that you have ceded some rights so that your government can protect you. Right? So, and we do that. We do rescue people. We do come for them when they have COVID and so on. So when you tell us where you are, when we know that there are 20 Kenyans in a tiny town somewhere in a tiny corner somewhere in Bujumbura, we know if something happens in Bujumbura, and we monitor because our different desks within foreign affairs, in particular, political desks, will tell us this is happening.
Yeah.
We immediately know if we have to scramble a jet, these are the numbers that we are looking at. Now we are scrambling a jet, but we are not sure. We'll scramble a jet, we'll send it, it will pick some people, and then, now we are relying on you telling us on Twitter, or people now finally showing up to come to the mission, to the embassy.
So I hear you talking about streamlining, and I think this streamlining is one of the big things that we talk about.
Yes.
Right? We cannot run away from the horror stories that we've heard, especially for Kenyans who have gone to work in the Gulf. There are many reasons as to why they turn up in the situations in which they turn up in. And of course, the blame in many cases cannot all be put on one side. However, there's too many occurrences for us not to look at the streamlining issue. So it would be very interesting to hear then what the plans are to streamline and regulate these operations that take Kenyans to the Gulf, specifically because this is where we hear the most of the issues coming from.
Absolutely.
Not to say that Kenyans who go to other parts of the world don't find themselves in whirly situations, but we're saying that the Gulf stories have been too regular.
Yeah.
And it is clear that there is no regulatory framework under which Kenyans are working in these countries.
There actually is. So let me tell you about the framework and where it is failing. Then I'll tell you about the plans we have to deal with this. So yes, we have a lot of Kenyans in the Middle East. Okay, particularly in Saudi, in the UAE, in Qatar, in Kuwait, in Bahrain. A lot of Kenyans are working there, and there are different skill level.
Yes.
So in Saudi, for example, where I was last week addressing some of these things, we have anything between 107,000 to 200,000 Kenyans, right? Our numbers say 200,000 Kenyans in Saudi. Working in Saudi, about 60% of that are professionals, right? ICT, bankers, that entire group of Kenyans. And then we have, housekeepers, domestic workers, watchmen, security people, and so on, right? So we have had trouble with one segment, right? Largely domestic workers. And the vulnerabilities of being a domestic worker are many, and they are intersecting, right? So there's a race dimension, there is the fact that you're a woman that comes with certain vulnerabilities, there is the fact that you work in somebody's house, so there is some sort of isolation from the rest of society, and the usual social protections that come with working in the market as opposed to working in the household are not there. Right. And the way the Saudi arrangement works, for example, is we have a bilateral labor agreement with Saudi. So that's a regulatory framework under which Kenyans go to work in Saudi. And the agreement is implemented by the Ministry of Labor. Right. So the idea is Saudi sends out a work order. And they have a system, an online system called Musanet, where they post out, we are looking for, 10,000 housekeepers, this is the rate, and so on. And their agents put that out. And agents in other parts of the world, now the labor market sources then say, okay, now we want, I can supply 200, I can supply, and they come out and do their recruitment, are supposed to do a recruitment, are supposed to meet the standards, are supposed to do, very critical, a very good pre-departure training.
You've used 3 are supposed.
Yes, yes. And that for me, explains where the gaps have been. Okay. We are not pretending that there are no gaps.
Can I stop you and take you just a little? Yes.
Very well. Yes.
You see, you lived, worked abroad.
Mm-hmm. Went to school abroad.
That's it. Lived, worked, went to school abroad. You couldn't have gone abroad to study if you hadn't met certain conditions.
Yes.
Now, this gap, do we have anything within our system that would enable this cadre of employee to actually have some fundamental training? Forget this one of going to settle and then become, so that there are skill sets that somebody actually has. So when they go out there, it's not just
they're immediately qualified.
Yes,
for
so
that job
it's not.
So that's a great question, and that's one of the big things that my office has to do: help with accreditation, and that is together with the Ministry of Labour. And the Ministry of Labour has certain, institutions. We're talking about NITA. We're talking about the National Employment Authority, NEA, and so on. So they have the infrastructure, which needs some tweaking, so that as we are having conversations about and regulating the agents a little bit better, and I think that is where our biggest weakness has been.
Sure.
Because we have had particularly young women arriving in Saudi who have not had
any training,
pre-departure training. The paperwork says that they have, but they haven't had.
But the truth is, they were not trained at all.
They did not have training, and it's.
And what is this pre-dispatcher training?
It's both job specific, but also cultural training, and being exposed to this is what the labor law in Saudi requires. Okay. For example, the labor law when you migrate as a housekeeper, it's a 2-year contract. You have a contract. It's a 2-year contract. You sign it. You work in that particular house because your visa is linked to that particular employer, right? It's not an open work permit. It's linked to that particular contract.
Okay.
If you breach that contract, if you walk away from that contract, if you abscond, then you're immediately out of status. And if you're out of status, then you fall into the black market and start being trafficked. And by trafficked, I mean somebody else, an agent, a dalali, finds you, work elsewhere and tells you, in fact, I'll get you work somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. The problem we have is that a number of these housekeepers don't understand that you actually must do your 2-year contract.
Right.
Nobody has explained this, that you can't walk out of your contract. And if you must breach it because, of course, if there is abuse or someone is not paying you and that kind of thing, there's actually a provision within even the Musanet system to do that and walk away and have then your visa transferred to a different employer. But we have failed by not doing that training, by not ensuring that someone actually understands the conditions under which they can work, they can live, where where to escalate for trouble, where to escalate if there is trouble and that kind of thing.
So are we saying that those who we've heard the stories about are essentially folks who've fallen off the radar?
Yes.
Okay.
Largely. They've fallen off the radar because once you fall off the radar, then the vulnerabilities that I talk about are just multiplied. Because now your medical care, for example, is linked to your being in status. So you're not able to really access medical care, right? You're not able now to raise. So one of the things I found when we were there, I visited the Sakan Center, which is a rescue center. It's a shelter. It's run by an independent institution that then gets funding from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, from the government, and they recover some of their money from agents whose clients are now there. Okay. This is how it works. If you show up and you have had an abusive relationship with your employer or you're walking away, you show up at the Sakan Center, they check your records within the Musanet system that I'm explaining. They see if there is a labor matter against you. They give you legal advice, legal aid. They help process it out so that you can get an exit visa. And this is the other thing that I would want the girls to understand, and we must train better, is that you cannot leave Saudi when you're in that kind of a contract without an exit visa. It's not like it is here. Here, if I am a Ugandan and I'm working and I am no longer happy with my boss, I take my bag and I go home. You can't do that. In Saudi, you must get an exit visa, which makes it very problematic. So there are Kenyans who can't exit because they can't get the exit visa because the employer has a claim against them on the system.
Right.
So Sakan helps them actually process all of that, get the exit visa, and actually pays for tickets. So anybody who is at Sakan is on their way home. Okay, so they're just processing them for them to get home. So it's not a holding center and that kind of thing. So now what we're trying to figure out and working on is how do we make these systems much more client-facing or customer-facing or citizen-facing, so that we are not just thinking about institutions and so on. But if I can take the customer journey as a housekeeper, from the minute they bring me from Kathunzweni or Keroka or Kirua or wherever, and they bring me, because truthfully, there have been some real failures where you just have girls arriving from shags. They're given their ticket, their contract, and the passport.
Airport.
At the airport.
They don't know where they're going.
At the airport.
They actually handed these things at the airport.
So we will need.
So these failures,
to tighten.
Are they failures of enforcement, or are they failures because of capacity? Is it because of poor enforcement, or is it because of lack of capacity by those that are supposed to be enforcing?
I think it might most likely just be an implementation or an enforcement thing, which is why I'm confident that we'll be able to crack down on it, because we have the people, we have the institutions, we have the mechanisms. All right, and it can be done. We
have cartels, Rosalie.
I have to ask this question: Do we have a system that records the departure of Kenyans, the destinations, and what it is that is
you're going to do?
Yes. Do we have it?
So think about the last time you left the country.
Okay.
Walk through that journey. When you went to the airport, you went through immigration, your passport was stamped. We didn't really collect all of that information. We collect the information that you have exited. We can probably triangulate with the fact that there was a boarding pass, issued, and you are going to your final destination is London.
You know where I'm going with this?
I might. I'm not sure. So what I said.
Tell me what you think. Where do you think I'm going with this?
Let me tell you where I'm going with it. So government collects information we have information in different places. We have immigration, for example, that tells me X number of people left in February, and these are the people who've returned. So I'm able to tell,
how many
Latif is still out there. You could have told us you're going to London, and you went through Dubai, and you went to Dubai, and you went elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So we just know that you exited. All right. Of course, there are other parts of government that sort of might know exactly where you are, and sometimes we are able to get that information. But increasingly, a big part of getting government going digital is that information sharing. And for me to be able to see, these are the number of Kenyans who've exited. They have been out for this long, so these are the people who I am responsible for. And this is where they are. Eventually, this is what they are doing. We're trying to figure out, when you're out there, what are you doing? So that we're able to say, no, we're not interested in surveilling you. We just want to know, how do we support you better? So that if we are coming to Brussels and we know that there are 30 Kenyans in Brussels who work in IT, who are lawyers, and who work in banking, and there's something interesting happening in banking in Brussels, and we're coming, we'd like you to come. So we invite you, and we can network a little bit better. So yes, that
time.
Oh,
it's a short time. Can you imagine?
That hour goes very quickly.
The hour is up. So thank you very much, Rosalind, for coming. How do people engage with you? I see you're very active on social media. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora is actually also very active. There's a new Twitter handle for the Diaspora.
Yes, that's at diaspora_KE. And that's where you can get, news on Diaspora, what we're doing, what we're working on. As we begin to cascade what our mandate is, that's where you're going to find that. Yes, I am, fairly active on social media. My Twitter is @RosalindJogu. And you also find a lot of our information, from Foreign Office KE. That's a Foreign Affairs handle. And all of the different missions have Twitter handles that are increasingly getting
more
active.
and more
So
active.
wherever you are, You can find that. Also, our website is being updated, and you're able to find more and more information. That's mfa.go.ke.
Rosalind Jogo, PS for the State Department for Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us. For Diaspora Affairs. Hey, have a lovely weekend. We'll see you on Monday. It's 10 a.m.